have you ever supported a Republican candidate? Are you open to supporting a Republican candidate?
Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? There's all sorts of questions we could have fun with. Your questions, not about the debate, because that's not going to be interesting if the candidates stick to the script and they're 30 seconds or 60-second and 30 seconds and blah, 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 all their sort of reintroduction pap and the trying to lie in the weeds for their moment. I'm going to slam Vivek about Ukraine or Israel funding, and I'm going to slam Chris Christie about being an obnoxious Macy's Day balloon who is just singularly focused on Trump to the exclusion of anything interesting, and I'm going to focus on Nikki Haley being another neocon. I mean, it's so
predictable what's going to
exactly
happen. That's why I don't even want any after the second debate. I mean, I have never almost turned off a debate, not once but twice while it was in process, but I kept no, I have to watch this for work. But it was so stupid and such a colossal waste of time for all of the American people. So dumb.
Here's another from Flanagan over at AMAC. Before I answer your question, Mr. Holt, let me ask you this. Why has NBC failed to run a story on the Biden DOJ's personal or political prosecution of whistleblowers in the Hunter Biden cases?
That's good.
Why has the NBC failed to pretty much run anything about the Hunter Biden / Biden Inc. cases? That would be that discussion could take up most of the 90 minutes.
That'd be good.
Bob, Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Always great talking to you. You got off to an excellent start this morning. This is a topic I wish the candidates would address and ask Kristen Welker. You stole the election by withholding the laptop question at the last debate back in 2020. And there's so many other questions we could ask. Like yesterday, I watched Georgie Stephanopoulos badger Steve Scalise. I wish Scalise would have asked Stephanopoulos why they're spinning the narratives and not talking about Biden Inc. and why they're focusing on Trump's troubles. Great start this morning. I just wish more politicians would turn it back on the newscasters who are spinning the narratives.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Appreciate it. Yeah, Kristen, do you regret now? Have you come to the conclusion yet, Kristen, that the Hunter laptop is real? Or are you still sticking with all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign position? If you had to go back, I mean, this is it really.
I mean, Hunter has now admitted that the laptop is his. Yes, so
you could treat them like politicians, right?
Oh,
if there was anything in your first 4 years you would have done differently, what would it be? If there was anything in your last 4 years of debate moderation, Kristen Welker, you would have done differently, what would that be? Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy, and thank you much for taking my call. The first order of business should have been the GOP and all the Republicans interested in running everything all stick together and take care of this dog and pony show where Trump is getting railroaded by corrupt judges and prosecutors and everything, and stand behind them and say, listen, there ain't going to be anything going on other than getting this thing halted with basically this injustice against Trump. He's our candidate. He's our, the guy that's, because they're all jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, to take him because Trump's getting attacked rather than basically, going after the injustice. It's not just against Trump. It's against the whole system of fair elections that they can go after this guy and everything like that, who's our guy. I mean, what do you think about that, Dan? That they should all stick together and avoid anything to do with the next election other than Trump's the guy.
Well, thanks for the call, Craig. I mean, everybody has a right to run. I mean, the Iowa governor, Kim Reynolds, just endorsed DeSantis, I saw.
That's huge. Iowa governors normally stay out of that until after the caucuses. But, okay.
No, I don't know that changes much of what's happening in Iowa, but, we'll see. You still got...
someone decided.
You still got 2 months until the Iowa caucus. Not a lot of time with the holidays in between, but we'll see. Now, on the flip side, even if DeSantis won Iowa, looks like he's going to have a tough time winning Florida. So, it's complicated out there. I mean, it's actually not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward where things stand now. But, I mean, everybody gets their opportunity to pitch their wares and say why they should be better. That's why we have elections.
Right.
It doesn't bother me that people are running. And
No,
frankly,
I think it's kind of well. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I mean, people keep calling in. They used to saying that we shouldn't even have a debate, that it's over. Which I get one debate, but that those people should respect President Trump and drop out of the race.
I mean,
not
that's
going
what
to happen.
that's what Donald Trump wants to happen. That's what
Right.
Rick Scott wants to happen, who endorsed Trump last week. That was a big endorsement coming from a former Florida governor, Florida Senator Rick Scott, that it's over and let's consolidate around Trump. I mean, I get it, but I don't. I'm not upset with Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or Tim Scott making their case, making their run. We should have debates. The question is not about debates, but I mean, all the conservative outlets that exist in the landscape, you can pull a few moderators from all these different conservative outlets and have a presidential debate. How about Victor Davis Hanson moderates a presidential debate? And we put it on Twitter, and every one of the conservative outlets around the globe amplifies it. That would get just as big an audience as anything that NBC5 is, or NBC5 local, NBC News generally is providing for the RNC. RNC is making a huge mistake here. Huge mistake. And they're making it again, which is why it's so unnerving. All right, coming up at 5:38. Hey, we got Congress-humans from Illinois weighing in on this migrant matter. The Reverend Jackson's son, Jonathan.
I know.
He's a Congress-human.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little town hall, and he's got something to say about what you in the suburbs and exurbs aren't doing to help Chicago at 5:38.
And later, the pro-Palestinians are getting ready for Joe Biden's visit to Chicago on Thursday. We'll give you the details. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
56 degrees at 5:30 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a pair of unannounced visits to the Middle East on Sunday. First, Blinken met with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas as Israeli troops have surrounded Gaza City and cut off the northern part of that besieged Hamas-ruled territory as communications were lost overnight for several hours. Fox's Jonathan Savage is in southern Israel.
Explosions light up the night sky over Gaza, a territory Israel now says it has divided in two. We're told fighter jets have attacked 450 targets in the last day, while troops encircle Gaza City on the ground. But with communications down for several hours in the Strip, it's been hard to get a full picture. Humanitarian concerns remain high, but for the first time an airdrop of aid has been delivered to southern Gaza. It was supplied by Jordan and is said to consist of medical equipment and food. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
With no way of proof, the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says the Palestinian death toll, as it has counted, has reached 9,700. More than 1,400 people in Israel have been killed. Secretary of State Blinken is again touring the Middle East on a grueling tour. He was in Baghdad over the weekend, the secretary saying his work is important and peace in the Middle East can only come through working with both sides.
Palestinian views, Palestinian voices, Palestinian aspirations need to be at the center of that.
Blinken met Monday in the Turkish capital of Ankara after a frantic weekend to the occupied West Bank, Cyprus, and Iraq. Aid is trickling into villages in Nepal's mountainous northwest, hit by a strong earthquake over the weekend. Survivors are pawing through the rubble of their collapsed homes to try and salvage what's left. The strong earthquake, late on Friday, killed 157 so far, according to local sources, injuring nearly 300. Former President Donald Trump is scheduled to take the stand in the Trump Organization's civil fraud trial in New York today. World shares are mixed, with European markets barely moving as investors continue to stay cautious over the potential for recession in Europe and here in the U.S. Here, U.S. futures rose and oil prices gained more than $1 a barrel. Chicago sports: Bears lost to New Orleans while the Blackhawks lost to New Jersey. The news is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. We'll have a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Best Dental Group of Bartlett, the Illinois Family Institute, and by Alpha Wealth Group.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Hi, my name is Peg. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. Family is so important to me, and I want to stay healthy so that I can continue to do the things that I enjoy doing with all of them. I would recommend Balance of Nature. It's so easy to do every day. I feel great, and who doesn't want to feel great?
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, Wayne Burdick, Health Insurance Specialist. Open enrollment for individual and small group plans has arrived. There are many plan changes for 2024. Let me help you find the right plan. Lower your cost of insurance, reduce deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. Call now, 847-274-5918, or go to lowercosthealthplans.com. Having an agent is crucial and no cost to you. Call Burdick Insurance at 847-274-5918 or lowercosthealthplans.com.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Calling all Patriots. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me on the Patriots Alaska cruise in June 2024. We'll dive deep into geopolitical trends and unpack the influences shaping the world today. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other Patriots on an epic 7-day journey. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. Join us from June 29th to July 6, 2024. Book online, patriotsalaskacruise.com.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Make the hiring process work for you. With Indeed's end-to-end hiring solution, you can attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
5:37. And let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Kennedy already jamming. Austin to Montrose this morning, 25 in from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're also seeing delays this morning on the Stevenson already. Ashland into the Ryan merge. Brake lights are flashing. 28 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. I-57, they've yanked an accident out of your way inbound at Halstead. Delays on the Tri-State. Exit ramps are closing northbound on the Tri-State to the Eisenhower Expressway inbound. You're detoured and doubling back at St. Charles Road. They expect to reopen that ramp that's closed by the end of the year, and it is going to cause some delays. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy until the early afternoon, then becoming partly cloudy. You may see some isolated showers this morning will top out in the upper 60s, near 70. Overnight, lows in the upper 40s. 56 at O'Hare, 54 at Midway, and 50 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Jesse Sr.'s baby boy, one of the family of race hustlers, Jonathan Jackson, he's a congresshuman. Following in the footstep of his big brother, Jesse Jr.
Oh, okay. That's how that went.
I guess.
That's his big brother.
Yeah, you know, public offices are like family heirlooms in Chicagoland. People know this. So it gets passed around. Jonathan Jackson had a town hall about this migrant matter. You know, that proposed base campsite 115th and Halstead is in his district.
It sure is. And people showed up. So many people showed up that they had to turn people away. It was at the, I think, South Shore Cultural Center.
Here's Jonathan Jackson's
get it right.
statement of principle on this, and I'll tell you, I'm glad finally somebody said it.
The state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. Chicago's a sanctuary city. This is not Chicago's burden alone.
Exactly. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. We've, of course, talked about this, particularly with the monies that Jelly Belly is trying to distribute to get suburban communities to take up some of the burden. That's their word, not mine. That's what they're calling it. BLM Brandon is saying it's a burden. I don't know. I thought it was an opportunity. I thought this was great. I thought, well, we're have an opportunity to live and spend in furtherance of our values, and all of a sudden I'm hearing words like burden and problem and issue. I don't know. There's a real disconnect there. But what Chicago does, if you believe their characterization of this problem, what Chicago's always done, Chicagoland, socialize the problems in the city. It is not the city proper's responsibility. It is the region. It is the state. And I understand the argument that's made. Chicago's this economic engine, and Chicago throws off benefits to the surrounding communities. And to some extent, that's true. It used to be a lot more true than it is today. But regardless, that's the sales pitch they've done. That's the sales pitch that most suburbanites have bought. And so Jonathan Jackson is right. We are a sanctuary state in Illinois. And it shouldn't take having to bribe local communities with resources for everybody to pitch in and do their part, right?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636. Type in DA, then the quick comment. And I heard, people complaining, the regular complaints like, well, these are our tax dollars. What's in it for us? Take care of people at home first. Take care of us first. But the tax, they're already spent. It's already a done deal. I mean, he's having these, I don't know why people keep having these town halls, because it's just smoke and mirrors. They've already made their decisions. The tent camp is going up at 115th and Halstead.
Well, the resource question, too, it's our tax dollars and spend it for us. I don't understand that because, look, this is a city and state that is governed by nothing but fiscal conservatives. Everyone's a fiscal conservative. So I haven't looked at it like everybody else. I haven't looked at the numbers, or at least I'll pretend I haven't. So I assume we're flush with cash. So I can't imagine resources is an issue. And if it is an issue, well, that's easily solved. You got to stick it to the fat cats. In Chicago, I understand from BLM branded, that's anybody who makes over $100,000. So, a little
your house for $1 million.
A little, well, but let's go a lot deeper than that. I mean, everybody makes $100,000. They give them that little 3% city income tax. What's 3%? If you really need it, I mean, it's for a good cause. and it'll be spent responsibly. We're governed by fiscal conservatives. If at the state level you're talking need for equity, more equity, then you resuscitate Jelly Belly's graduated state income tax proposal. What's the problem there? Again, these are fiscal conservatives. They have made Illinois this magnet for business and people traveling the world over, literally, to come to Chicago. So, I mean, if you're a city resident, what's a 3% kicker on the old income? If you're an Illinois resident who's done well thanks to the great leadership, political leadership that we have and civic leadership that we have, then, what's paying a little bit more to even out the distribution of the tax burden?
Well,
that's what I say.
And Congressman Jackson said, because President Biden's coming to Chicago on Thursday, wouldn't it be a great time, Dan, for them to tour some of these police stations to see what's been going on so he could see firsthand what open border policy looks like? But also Congressman Jackson said at that time, I know. He's not going to do it, but he said at that time, I'm going to ask him for more federal funds to help us with this situation.
Well, why do we need more federal funds? We're Illinois.
Yeah, darn it.
We solve our own problems. We are one of the best governed states in the country. We're attracting people. That's what I understand from the governor. So all this cognitive dissonance, I've been told this story about how Illinois is the beacon on the hill. It's the shining city. It's going very well. We've done an incredible job. All we do is balance budgets. All we do is attract companies that grow jobs. We expand. We have companies here that expand their operations because it's so hospitable. We have great schools with great teachers run by great teachers unions, and everything couldn't be better. So what is all this? We can't handle being a welcoming city, living and spending in furtherance our values for 20,000 of friends we haven't made yet. Look, I've already got it solved. I mean, we solved this on the show a while back, but now I've got the numbers. This is easy. So, but before I even get into the weeds on this, let me just say, Governor Abbott, keep the buses rolling. Catholic Charities, keep the flights running. We have plenty of capacity. We're going to be the best when it comes to being welcoming. We looked at the Chicago Public Schools over at Chicago City Wire. Chicago Public Schools is under capacity with existing buildings by 160,000. So 43 high schools built for 62,100 students have just 19,215 students. So there's almost 43,000 right there. That's almost 1,000 per high school in these 43 high schools. Yeah. Another 247 K through 8 schools, middle and elementary schools, have capacity for 202,920. They have 87,942 enrolled. That's room for another 115 grand, round numbers. So you got a room for 43 at these 43 high schools, 43,000, and you got room for 115,000 at these K through 8 schools, these elementary middle schools. I mean, right? Is this obvious? Do I need to put an exclamation point on it? And I mean, the nice thing too is the Southwest side or South Side schools, I should say, 95,000 of that overall 160,000 in terms of excess capacity. Humboldt Park has room for 6,100, Little Village 6,000, Inglewood 4,800, Roseland 4,500, Auburn Gresham 4,300, Logan Square 4,200. I mean, I don't know. What's the problem?
But it's so strange because the alderman at the 115th in Halsted, Morris, what's his name? Alderman Morsley?
Ronnie Mosley?
Ronnie Mosley, yes. He's worried about the schools. He said if all these migrants come to 115th and Halsted, the schools aren't going to be able to handle the load.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You've got so much open seats. Are you kidding me?
Handle
Look at
the
your
load.
Attendance records.
South Side is home to 162 of the 291 schools with excess capacity. Total excess capacity, 95,000.
He could take, 500, 600 kids.
And people say, well, wait a second. You don't want, adults and families in the same space as kids. First of all, these things are so cavernous and so empty, they never see each other, or they wouldn't have to. Number two, what are you talking about? This is an opportunity to connect the kids with our values.
There you go, Dan. Now you're selling it.
They can tell the stories of the migrants and share their stories with the migrants. This is putting the village together that it takes to raise a child. I mean, could this be any more straightforward? I honestly, I don't even know, after getting all the numbers in, what all this consternation is about. These town hall meetings and so on and so forth. Perhaps they just haven't been told the wonderful news. So please share it. Please share it with your friends and neighbors so we can stop having these uncomfortable town hall meetings, so I can stop listening to the residents in Jonathan Jackson's district, like this guy, Mr. Wallace.
Oh,
who
can't
had
stand what he said.
had this to say. I mean, this is the
Blames the
takeaway.
Republicans.
This is the takeaway from these town hall meetings once it's all laid out, and after Jonathan Jackson gets done blaming Greg Abbott and MAGA Republicans and so on and so forth. All right, here's a Southside resident, or Jonathan Jackson congressional district resident named Mark Wallace. Here's his takeaway.
It's a federal issue. The federal government is responsible for that, and so Congress needs to get together. The Republicans have to work with the Democrats and fix the problem. These are poor people who are being used for other people's political gains.
Yeah, whose political gains? Mark?
Mr. Wallace. I can't believe they interviewed him. I saw that. And
Of course they did.
God, my face got red. I was so angry.
So, these poor. But what do you mean? What is this problem business? This is a federal problem. What's the problem? People want to be here. Mm-hmm. People can't be illegal. These are people that are yearning to breathe free to a person. We're a sanctuary city. They're here. We do what we do.
Meanwhile, at the 10th Police District, I don't know if you saw this, an illegal deliberately dumped a load, defecated on a heating unit while two porta potties and a bathroom were nearby. Residents of the lobby notified that there was an individual resting on the floor while officers walked by. Residents observed the brown items clumped together. The smell was consistent. Fecal matter.
Okay, you have a slumber. Yeah, yes, just.
Well, can you imagine working like that, going to work?
Well, first of all, you have a slumber party. People are going to play pranks. Big deal. You can tell me a migrant stuck another migrant's finger in a cup of water and he pissed himself?
No, the resident they thought was drunk. He defecated on
the floor. So this is where you get them into the schools that have all this capacity. And then you get bunk beds, and it's, it'd be like, I don't know, I assume there'll be hijinks will ensue. It'll be like Stripes. Everybody have fun. They'll be playing cards. After they get home from work.
Well, there'll be ping pong tables,
Be
billiard
fine.
tables.
They'll be out playing soccer with the kids, or I guess it's indoors now. I don't know. There'll probably be some prospective volleyball talent for you.
Did you see the boxing match outside the 7th District? These two kids put on gloves and they were boxing, and people were throwing down money. Organized boxing. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't assault. It was, both parties agreed. Mutual combatants, so to speak, Dan.
You got to pass the time. We did the same thing in the caddy shack when I was growing up. You're going to play quarters. You're going to go play basketball or baseball. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a fight.
You're going to rob a Walmart of a karaoke machine so you can
You're going to defecate on a heater. I mean, it's just like you're just passing the time.
Defecate on a heater. Of all the places.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Horrified Americans have watched anti-Semitism erupt on elite college campuses. At Harvard, more than 30 student groups blamed Israel for the Hamas attacks. Penn will host an internationally condemned anti-Semite during the High Holy Days. Course material at Princeton promotes blood libels against Jews. Cornell students were advised to avoid a Jewish center after threatening messages were posted online. It's been an open secret that China has funded Confucius Institutes at our universities. Less known is that Arab sources gave American universities some $4.3 billion between 1986 and 2021. That can buy a lot of influence. Cornell, Harvard, and NYU are among the biggest recipients of Arab funding, with Cornell having taken the most, a whopping $1.5 billion. Our universities have been targets of foreign-funded influence campaigns. It's time to stop their toxic gravy train.
Do you want your child to come back from school hating God, America, and you? If the answer is no, the solution is St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard. I am the man, Cal. Look, I'm a Christian guy with 2 daughters out in this world, and it can get very scary. St. John's Lutheran School Lombard is the only school in all of Illinois that offers the Hillsdale College curriculum for kindergarten through 8th grade. It's a game changer, a nurturing environment with a Christian faith, traditional values, and critical thinking that teaches kids to think for themselves, not what to think. What a great thing to do for your child or grandchild. Strong academics with the Hillsdale curriculum and strong character. Go to stjohnslombard.com. That's Saint, S-T, johnslombard.com. stjohnslombard.com. It's in Lombard, Glen Ellen, Wheaton, Downers Grove, and all places nearby. stjohnslombard.com.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call,
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
Hey, Chicago, I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. This is my favorite time of year, time for the Freedom Summit, your golden ticket for empowering yourself with knowledge, rights, and liberty. I'm honored to be a featured speaker once more this year, joining the dynamic Judge Janine Pirrio and the outspoken Senator Rand Paul. You won't want to miss my exclusive workshop, where I'll reveal the 3 secrets to fighting back against the IRS plans to audit business owners. Discover how the structure of your business can be your first line of defense, how to set up a record-keeping system, even if you don't have any accounting or technical skills, and find out how tax planning can lead to true tax freedom. Plus, I'll have a special offer for every business owner in attendance. Can't make it to the Freedom Summit? You can still sign up for my free email newsletter. In the newsletter, I share important information that will help your business grow and prosper. Go to radiotaxman.com right now and sign up. radiotaxman.com. It's free. Remember, fight back now.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
What a great text message about the guy who pooped in the 10th district. Dan and Amy, they've done that in the 8th as well. And I'm over here worried about owners who aren't picking up after their dogs.
Coming up at 6:06, another edition of Sports and Politics. Speaking of Best Dental Group, I just heard that spot on our airwaves.
Yeah.
There's a young lady in Massachusetts who's going to need some dental work after running into a male athlete on the field hockey field. That's at 6:06.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Anti-Semitic flyers and messages found in the Chicago suburbs. Calls growing for Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa to step down. And an 11-year-old girl is critically wounded in a Southside shooting. WIND Chicago News Times, 6 a.m.
Trying to get more humanitarian aid into Gaza faster. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Secretary of State Antony Blinken just said that after talks in Turkey.
We know the deep concern here for the terrible toll that Gaza is taking on Palestinians, on men, women, and children in Gaza, innocent civilians, a concern that we share.
The day after Blinken went to Baghdad, warning Iran and others not to widen the conflict with Israel after dozens of attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. More medical aid was airdropped into Gaza overnight.
Jordan actually took one of their transport planes over the Gaza Strip and dropped aid into Gaza for Palestinian civilians. Now, it wasn't announced, but this is something that certainly was coordinated with the Israelis.
Fox's Trey Yanks near the Gaza border, where Israel's not pausing the war against Hamas.
The Israelis believe the majority of the hostages are being held in the tunnel network beneath Gaza City. And so it's part of the reason they have the city surrounded. They've cut the Gaza Strip in half, and they appear to be pushing it.
Ukraine is confirming 19 of its troops have been killed in a Russian missile strike.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calls it an incident that could have been avoided. A Russian missile strike on soldiers receiving medals at an open-air ceremony. It happened in the Zaporizhia region on Friday, and local media say more than 20 Ukrainians were killed.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage.
The world's on fire, and we know this wouldn't happen if President Trump was in charge.
That's Florida State Representative Randy Fine, one of 7 Republicans in the state who've switched to become Trump supporters, no longer backing Governor Ron DeSantis in the GOP presidential race. Though today, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will endorse DeSantis nearly 2 months before the first contest there. Later this morning, the former president will take the witness stand at the civil trial in New York, where a judge he calls dangerous already ruled that he and the Trump organization committed fraud. His 2 adult sons, Donald Jr. and Eric Trump, testified last week. America's listening to Fox News.
56 degrees. It is 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. And good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. Jury selection begins today in the federal racketeering case against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Burke was indicted in 2019 on racketeering, bribery, and attempted extortion charges. Burke was the longest-serving alderman in Chicago history, serving in the city council for 54 years before leaving office. Calls for Mayor Brandon Johnson's floor leader to step down are growing louder after he was accused of bullying a city council colleague. A group of community activists say they want Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa to resign over allegations he physically restrained Alderwoman Emma Mintz.
We asked him to resign. The behavior is inappropriate, unacceptable. We don't feel that he can run our city or even help with the immigrants.
Chicago Aldermanic Black Caucus also released a statement saying they want Ramirez Rosa to step down. Charges are pending after a CTA employee was physically injured in an altercation at the Jackson Red Line station. Police say the CTA staffer was involved in that fight on Saturday night. Congressman Jonathan Jackson is calling on the rest of Illinois, he says, to help Chicago in dealing with the illegal migrant crisis. Jackson discussed the matter yesterday at a town hall meeting.
The state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. Chicago's a sanctuary city. This is not Chicago's burden alone.
His comments come as Mayor Brandon Johnson administration is still trying to figure out a housing plan for thousands of migrants living in temporary shelters, police stations, or airports. A teenage boy is among 3 wounded following a shooting on Chicago's southwest side. Police say a 16-year-old and 2 adults were standing on the street Saturday night when they were shot. An 11-year-old girl is in critical condition following a shooting on the south side. The child was inside of a home yesterday. It happened in the 2000 block of West 68th when she was shot by someone outside of the residence and then rushed to Comer Children's Hospital. Police are investigating after anti-Semitic messages and flyers were found on Chicago's northwest side and in the suburbs over the weekend. Flyers were also discovered in LaGrange Park and Elmhurst on Saturday. Saints have won back-to-back games after taking down the Bears 24-17 at the Superdome. Tyson Bagent completed 18 of 30 for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I think it was all on me. Just forcing a couple plays there, and then you can't afford to take plays off in NFL because they come back to bite you. So got to be sharp on every play.
Cole Kmet caught both touchdown passes, and Chicago will host Carolina Thursday night. A quick turnaround and the start of Week 10. The Devils score a pair of third-period goals, surviving a comeback attempt from the Blackhawks during a 4-2 win here in Chicago. NCAA men's basketball, the regular season tips off this week. The Fighting Illini will host Eastern Illinois. The news, a service of the Salem Podcast Network, with episodes from Charlie Kirk, Todd Starnes, Trish Regan, and many more. Subscribe free, salempodcastnetwork.com. 6:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Breakthrough Ideas, Linex of Roselle, and by the law offices of Stephen Leahy.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
6:08. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Kennedy inbound 35 and climbing already. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're also seeing delays continue on the Kennedy outbound. Brake lights Canfield out to the big airport and I-190 this morning. On the Ike right now, 38, 390 to the old post office. Dan Ryan, 15, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Bishop Ford, brake lights and stop and go. 115th into the Ryan merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
A shower in the area this morning, then clouds giving way to some sun. A windy, warm day. High today up to 70. Partly cloudy tonight, low 44. Sun and clouds, cooler day tomorrow, the high only 56. Clouds and a bit of rain Wednesday, the high 60. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
56 O'Hare, 54 Midway, and 54 along the lakefront. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance, arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
Dan and Amy, on this installment, we go to Massachusetts. A female hockey playoff game between a couple of high schools there. Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School and Swampscott. Interestingly, Swampscott, that community, is where NCAA president and past governor of Massachusetts Charlie Baker lives, according to our friend Riley Gaines over at the Independent Women's Forum, because she asked him to comment on what transpired. What transpired was that Swampscott has a man, young man, playing on the girls' team, and he took a shot, wound up and took a shot that hit a female player on the opposing team in the face, facial injuries, knocked out at least a couple of her teeth. She had to be hospitalized, and you can hear if you watch it, when the girls see what happened to this other girl, the screaming, they walk off the field, so on and so forth. So, of course, this has renewed the discussion about men playing girls' sports, boys playing girls' sports, because of many other things, the potential for serious injury. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
And if you watch the video, I mean, you can hear he on a female team hits the ball so hard, it's like, and then it hits the stick of a teammate's stick and then ricocheted right into her mouth. And you can hear the impact. And then she's out of her mind. Like, she's delusional. I'm sure she's going to be concussed. I mean, there's no way. She's, had to go to the hospital, so we'll find out later. But her teeth were knocked out, and there's blood everywhere. It's just, it's not fair. This is not a safe situation. I thought we wanted safe spaces for women, Dan. I thought we wanted opportunities for women, and this is the exact opposite.
The superintendent of the school that the girl who was injured attends is now all of a sudden calling for the Massachusetts Athletic Association to reconsider the rules governing boys playing girls' sports. But On the other side, Swampscott's athletic director confirmed the player who took the shot was a male 4-year varsity student, co-captain.
Of course. Yeah.
And firmly believes the male student, quote, has the exact same right to participate as any player on any team. The state association, their version of the IHSA, said the organization supports our 383 member schools and all student athletes as we strive to create a welcoming, safe, and belonging atmosphere for all participants. And they're hiding behind the Massachusetts Equal Rights Amendment, which, of course, in the infinite wisdom of the Pauls and the electorate in Massachusetts, was passed in 1979 that prohibits discrimination based on gender, regardless of the gender that you make up.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. I mean, people should know, too, that this player, she wore a mouth guard and headgear. And the ball was hit so hard, it penetrated through both of those.
Well, it's just one of those freak accidents. It's nothing to get too worked up about, and the larger goal of inclusion. I mean, you had a hockey player, a terrible incident that a hockey player, just a minor league hockey player, right, who got killed on the ice when a guy was flipped and his skate slashed him in the throat.
Yeah, and he might be charged, though, because, there's rumblings that he did it on purpose, did a high kick. I'm sure he didn't mean to slice his throat and kill him.
Okay, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I saw the video. I mean,
I saw the video, too. It's disgusting.
I don't think that didn't look intentional to me, but that's not the point of this discussion. The point of this discussion, if we could stay on topic for 5 seconds.
Well, you brought up the hockey thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I brought it up in the context of this being a freak accident, not something endemic to the sport. If you'd like to comment on that, that's staying on topic. Just a freak accident. That's what they'll say. It's also interesting that the player, the dude who hit this girl in the mouth with the field hockey ball, scored both goals. The only 2 goals that were scored in the game. Something else that's missing from the discussion that I've seen online too, which is missing from this larger discussion. A 4-year varsity co-captain. Yeah, I saw pictures of this guy with his female teammates at the Swampscott High School.
Mm-hmm. Could you pick him out easily?
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is that the girls are very friendly with him. I mean, they've got pictures of him where where they're playing around and they're all like holding him up, and he's obviously completely accepted, if not celebrated, and I'm sure celebration is what he's receiving, or at least has been receiving until this incident.
I mean, he's
and they will chalk it up as a freak accident. The acceptance of the girls. Anybody want to talk about that piece of it?
They probably think they're being so woke, and look at us, we're so accepting. And
yeah, I wonder where they get that from.
Teachers and their coaches, society.
There's a good piece by a British psychologist named Pam Spur over at Spiked Online. The rise of gender ideology in British schools has me fearing for my 3 young granddaughters. You might think that's excessive, but the trans takeover of British schools is no small matter. An unscientific belief is now being pushed as fact, and our children are being bombarded with 2 ludicrous ideas, namely that a person can change sex and that there are countless made-up genders to choose from. Again, she's a practicing psychologist. One gender group claims there are 58 genders to choose from. Another offers 72. Meanwhile, one 2021 BBC program aimed at children aged between 9 and 11 said there were over 100 genders. New genders are being invented all the time. These made-up gender identities tend to pander to childish, fanciful minds. After all, what child interested in science and outer space wouldn't enjoy calling themselves astral gender and feeling somehow connected to the galaxy? I imagine many children might identify with the so-called burst gender. These are real things. Well, they're not real things, but they're real made-up genders. when they burst gender, when they experience sudden spikes of intense emotion and liveliness. While many adults rightly recognize the absurdity of this ideology, they make the mistake of believing that children won't fall for it. They assume children are astute at recognizing fact from fiction. However, one crucial thing I've learned from working in child and adolescent mental health is that young children generally absorb what they are told by adults about life, especially from adults in positions of authority. And this is what you have going on in the schools. This is the key point. When you get to something more serious than the flighty, I'm astral gender or burst gender. When you get to the that guy identifying as a girl. Well, that's being inculcated. Young children generally absorb what they're told by adults about life, especially from adults in positions of authority. They don't think critically through what teachers tell them. They're often blank slates teachers can write on. And if that writing states that girls can be boys and vice versa, kids will sadly take that as truth. That's what you're saying. And that's what you see with this situation with the field hockey team in Massachusetts. Bill, Northwest Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I think the real answer to this is that the girls and the parents of these girls have to say no. If there's a male on the other team, we will not participate. And to the parents of these girls, why in God's name would you put your daughter in danger and let her participate if she could get hurt? It's common sense. You're not going to wait for the government to do the right thing. They're not going to do the right thing. And by the time they do the right thing, your daughter may end up in the hospital with 2 missing front teeth.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Well, how many of the parents have bought the same line? Or, more to the point, Dr. Spur, are too afraid to step out? I mean, this is when we talk about girls playing boys' sports, men playing women's sports, everybody has the obvious response. So girls boycott or boys boycott. In other words, the male wrestler is not going to wrestle a female wrestler because he doesn't want to hurt her. Boxing, contact sports. Or in this case, right, the female swimmers or the female cross-country runners or the female field hockey teams, they just should boycott en masse. Okay, well, they should do that. People should do this and people should do that. Well, why aren't they?
I made my foster son wrestle a girl because that's who he was assigned to wrestle. And I said, she signed up for this, so do what you need to do. And he was done in 18 seconds. Respectfully. I mean, nothing, he didn't hurt her or anything, but it's like, you know what?
Yeah, and I bet he felt great about himself. What a victory.
No, he signed up to wrestle, and that was his opponent, so he wrestled her. I showed you the video, remember? It was a few years ago.
Well, so there you go. Everybody just act like this is normal.
Well, they
act like there's nothing wrong with this. Let's just get through this and let's not make a big stink about anything. Well, boys should just do this. The parents should just do that. The girls should just do. Yeah, right. No, it's easy to say. Who do you see leading the charge other than perhaps Riley Gaines? And she's not necessarily calling for boycotts. She's calling for rules changes at the governing body level or at the legislative level, which is fine and appropriate. But what about at the individual action level, to Bill from the Northwest Side's point? If you had, as we talked about last week with the cross-country final, the state competition in cross-country, if you had all the girls say, I'm not participating, well, that would make international news because it doesn't happen. So the common sense answer, the common sense response, do this, do that, well, so where is it? I mentioned this before. We played this clip before because I think it's just such a great calling of the question. And it's even better that it's coming from a dude who goes by Veronica Ivy, who participates in female cycling events. Oh, by the way, related story. American cyclist dude has now won his 10th medal as a woman after taking first place at a Chicago cycling event just this past October 29th. Winning events in Anderson Park and in Campton Township, Illinois. That gave Tessa Johnson his 9th and 10th medals as a female cyclist. The Chicago Cyclocross Cup at Anderson Park in Campton Township. Gold medal in 2 events. Congratulations, dude.
Must be so proud.
So back to Veronica Ivy.
Yes.
Call the question. How do you answer it? And then how do you act in furtherance of your answer?
This issue, people like to say that it's a complicated issue, and I don't actually think it is. I think it's very simple. It all boils down to, do you actually think that trans women and intersex women are real women and are really female or not? And if you do, it's very simple.
If you do, it's exactly right. Do you think that men masquerading as women are women? And if you do, the answer is very simple. And if you don't, the answer is very simple too. So what do you think? What's your answer? And then what are you going to do about it? That's a simple question that you should put to you should put yourself first, and then you should ask every politician and every coach and every state sports association administrator and the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, former Massachusetts governor. Are women masquerading as women actual women? If yes, you go one direction. If no, then ostensibly you would go another direction. Ostensibly. Steve in Bolingbrook.
Hi. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I'm going to suggest that things are not bad enough, and not enough people have been hurt personally. And when that does happen, we will stand up in mass. And full transparency, I'm doing nothing.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Well, right. It's not bad enough yet. The old it's not bad enough yet. Well, right, if you do nothing, though, then you're anticipating it will get worse, right? Or it just works itself out, it just goes away. It just works itself out, it goes away, or when it gets bad enough, then people will rise up. By the time it gets bad enough for the people who are saying, I'm waiting till it gets bad enough, it's too late.
Right. I mean, the hit was so grotesque and so vulgar in nature that 2 of her players almost got sick. Like they couldn't even look. They looked at her and then they looked away and they walked off the field. It was awful.
It's a terrible policy. It's going to produce bad results. Girls are going to get hurt. But until it comes to my household, or until I think it's reached a bad enough threshold, I'm just going to be a spectator. And people wonder why things are the way they are in a place like Illinois. Marie in Kenosha.
Well, hi. Thank you for taking my call. It was late last week. One of the other programs on this radio station brought up the fact that there is a psychological condition of some men that get a sexual high off of hurting and humiliating women, and that's part of this.
Okay, Marie. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, your question about the politicians answering if it's a man or a woman. Remember, Ketanji Brown couldn't even answer that question. She's sitting on the Supreme Court.
She doesn't know what a woman is, right? Yeah.
Right, but you're not looking at the silver lining of this whole thing. The silver lining is I could do whatever I want. So I'm going to be 6 years old, and I'm going to get the home run record on my son's Pee-wee T-ball team. And I'm also going to say I'm half a Native American Indian, so I could get some of that whole chunk casino money.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, it'll be like that Jason Bateman black comedy, Bad Words, where he was an 8th grade dropout who entered the spelling bee through a loophole. Remember that film? Did you see that? Pretty funny, actually.
I'm sure you'd be shocked that I didn't see it. I got a text message. Dan and Amy, isn't it ironic that the equal rights laws were passed in order to protect women in society, and now they're being used as cover for men and women's sports?
It's not ironic at all. It was inevitable. But people are so bad at connecting dots. thinking through the implications. Marriage redefinition.
Oh yeah.
The
You warned us
great
about that.
Some of the great thinkers on the left. On the right. Again, ostensibly, Jonah Goldbergs of the world and others. Civil unions is fine. Marriage redef is fine. And now they're railing against men playing girls' sports. Didn't think through the implications very deeply, did you? Yeah, ironic. It's ironic when you start introducing the government into the business of conferring benefits and imposing responsibilities based on non-behavioral characteristics like race and gender. No, it's not ironic that it would become the snake that eats its tail. It was inevitable. Mike in Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. Just two quick things. These schools should be empty. Parents should say, no, men can't be women, women can't be men, my kid's out of here. But that would require sacrifice at a depth that most people aren't willing to do. Well, we have to live on one income, we have to sell the McMansion, et cetera. So, tonight,
by the way, Mike, just as a quick aside, I mentioned Charlie Baker lives in this community where this high school is located that has the dude on the girls' field hockey team. That is a well-heeled community. These are two, high schools from two well-heeled communities that were competing against one another in this girls' field hockey team. To your point, but anyway, go ahead.
And tonight the part of the scumbag is played by the electorate, and I'm not equating the two, so please forgive me if it sounds like I'm going there, but the mechanics are the same. The Nazis were really not the problem. The evil was the people who did nothing about them. And that's where we are in this country. It's like it's staring us in the face. This, it's beyond idiocy. It's not idiocy. It's evil. And everyone's like.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Yeah, the banality of falsehood, I guess, to paraphrase Hannah Arendt. All right, coming up at 6:36, come join the murder in Chicago. Kim Fox's comments on how the Pritzker Purge law is working out, 6:36.
And later, President Biden has a new name. We'll explain, but now let's head straight into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
6:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Right now we have 56 degrees. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a pair of unannounced visits in the Middle East on Sunday. First, Blinken met with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas during a surprise stop in the occupied West Bank. Later, he traveled to Iraq on the third day of his tour of the region as well, as the war between Israel and Hamas rages on. Israeli troops have surrounded Gaza City and cut off the northern part of the besieged Hamas terrorist-ruled territory. Communications were lost overnight for several hours, as Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
Explosions light up the night sky over Gaza, a territory Israel now says it has divided in two. We're told fighter jets have attacked 450 targets in the last day, while troops encircle Gaza City on the ground. But with communications down for several hours in the Strip, it's been hard to get a full picture. Humanitarian concerns remain high, but for the first time an airdrop of aid has been delivered to southern Gaza. It was supplied by Jordan and is said to consist of medical equipment and food. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Blinken, meantime, is trying to forge a regional consensus on how best to ease Gaza's civilian suffering. In Baghdad, the secretary said his work is important and peace in the Middle East can only come through work from both sides.
Palestinian views, Palestinian voices, Palestinian aspirations need to be at the center of that.
Blinken met today at the Turkish capital of Ankara with representatives from Cyprus and Iraq trying to build support for the Biden administration's proposal for a humanitarian pause. Watching business this morning, world shares are mixed with European markets barely moving right now. Investors are cautious about the potential for recession there and in the U.S. The News is a service of Audible. Escape with the best stories of the year. Memoirs, mysteries, true crime. Ignite your imagination with audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com. AM 560 News Time is 6:33. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
6:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of Blindster.com, selling custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows. Shipping is free. Save big. Blindster.com. Right now on the Edens, 34 minutes inbound Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy already topping an hour from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're seeing delays on the Kennedy outbound as well between Canfield and the big airport. Now the Ike is beginning to build. 390 to the old post office in 41. Dan Ryan stop and go 95th inbound all the way up through 79th. And brake lights on the inbound Bishop Ford between 115th and the Ryan. Debris on the roadway this morning on the Jane Addams eastbound right near Barrington Road along I-90. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy until the early afternoon, then becoming partly cloudy. For the moment, we could see some light rain showers this morning. Highs will get to the upper 60s, maybe for some of the western suburbs near 70. Overnight dropping into the upper 40s. Currently, we have 56, mostly cloudy at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com. keeping you powered up no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've mentioned a couple of pieces written by Eva Moskowitz over the last week, 10 days, because they've been so on point, talking about K through 12 education and local politics, too, particularly in big blue city America. But we haven't mentioned her new book, which is why we wanted to have her on the show to talk a little bit about that as well. Eva Moskowitz is the founder and CEO of Success Academy Charter School, former New York City Council member. That must have been fun. And author of the recently released A-Plus Parenting, the surprisingly fun guide to raising surprisingly smart kids. Eva Moskowitz, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to the book, the piece you wrote about the business community being AWOL in local politics, and I mean, this has been written about before. This is where, for example, George Soros intercedes and says, well, I get the biggest bang for my political dollar by supporting, say, for example, state's attorneys in races for state or district attorney, where they don't have the expense of a governor's race or a federal race or certainly a presidential race. And so I can have maximum impact with my available resources. But also in the context even of school choice programs and policy debates, we see that in Chicago. In fact, I've been lamenting that for, decades now, that there's a lot of discussion in these clubs, the Economic Club of Chicago and our Civic Federation, where the C-suite types get together and they talk about how the city should be versus what it is. But those conversations usually end in those boardrooms because they don't want to get into the messy business of politics. They don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to take risks, even if they're otherwise basically untouchable because of their wealth. It's very frustrating. And so I wonder if you've gotten any feedback from your piece challenging those people, they know who they are, to be more active as we see big cities like New York and Chicago, San Francisco, beset by all kinds of societal ills, in part from terrible public policy choices.
Yeah, I mean, look, national politics is also important. I think, though, that there are an increasing number of areas in public policy that are actually diminishing free enterprise in particular, and that if that's a value that our business community and citizens hold dear, they're going to have to fight for it. It's not just going to be preserved because of our founding fathers or Alexander Hamilton. It's going to require that we get into the mosh pit and fight.
Design the behavior is inappropriate, unacceptable.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your answer.
Oh, just that it's important, and obviously education is almost exclusively local and state, and so and that represents a very sizable portion of local government's budget, and yet there is a kind of missing in action component of the business community, and I think that's unfortunate.
Let me be generous to the business community for a second, which is sort of against my nature in terms of their participation in politics. You know, part of it, somebody might say, is, look, I want to protect free enterprise, as Eva Moskowitz wrote about. I want the next generation of kids to respect our free enterprise system, to get involved, to get jobs early, to work their way up the corporate ladder or start a business and be successful like I was. I want all that. I just don't know where to intersect. Should I fight, which policy should I fight over? Where should I put my resources? And even before you get to on who should I put my resources? So, I mean, are there any like foundational issues or an example of a foundational issue where you say, this should be an all hands on deck issue?
Well, I pointed out a couple of examples in the op-ed that when employment at will is being contested by sort of, extreme sort of left-wing politicians, that would just be really, really unfortunate. And I would think the business community would be protective of its freedom to hire the most qualified and let go if the person is not performing at the level that they need to. I don't think you want local government tying, and it's not just the business community, it's the not-for-profit community. I mean, we need to hire and let go on the merits, even more so because we're serving a vulnerable population.
On the matter of K through 12 education, since you've had such success with the Success Academy, we just got our report card for the state of Illinois last week from the Illinois State Board of Education. 1.85 million kids in the system. Round numbers, about a third read at grade level and about 1/4 do math at grade level. And as you might expect, the numbers just in the city of Chicago are significantly worse. And the numbers for minority students, which make up a supermajority of the students in CPS, are even worse than that. So your reaction, because in Chicago we spend $30,000 per kid. It's statewide we spend $24,000 per kid, and we continue to tell what we've been told for 50 years, that we just need more money.
Yeah, and I would just say that being on grade level in a globally competitive economy is insufficient. These tests that data is based on are incredibly easy. And so that is a floor. That is not the goal. Any parent, I'm the mother of three, I always wanted my kids to be above grade level, as most parents do, because they recognize that in a globally competitive economy, your kids are not going to do very well. So that data that you cited is shocking, although not surprising, if that's not an oxymoron. Shocking, it shocks the sensibility because we're spending so much, and this story is repeated all over America. We spend more than any country around the globe, and somewhere between 2/3 and 1/3 of our children are failing miserably. And that's an adult problem, and that's a political problem. We know how to teach kids to read. We know how to teach kids to count. We know how to teach kids to think scientifically and mathematically. And yet schools, so many schools in America, are really warehousing children. They're handing out worksheets, collecting worksheets, not giving kids any feedback. And, we need the citizens of this great country of ours to demand better.
Yeah.
And that's going to require innovation. If we keep on doing what we've been doing for the last 30, 40 years, we should not be surprised that we have such poor results. We're spending more money and doing a poorer job.
Yeah, here in Chicago, it's $30K per pupil, which is, I don't know what they're getting from that. So how can parents, become A-plus parents? What can they do to get involved to help improve these horrific reading and math scores?
Well, I wrote the book for a couple of reasons, but the primary one is really that there's a lot of advice for parents on, toileting and the social and emotional growth of your children, all of which are practical and important, but there wasn't a book on raising intellectually vibrant children. And I wouldn't assume as a parent that the schools got it, and you as a parent don't have to worry about it, A, because the school may not have it, as the data you cited suggested, but actually kids spend still much more time at home than they do in school. And you, as a parent, want to make sure that your kids become self-driven learners, if you will. And so there are a lot of easy, not particularly time-consuming things you can do with your kids, which, by the way, are also enjoyable for parents. This is a how-to book. It's not meant for coverage. You don't have to do every activity in the book. Pick those that you find interesting. So there are game recommendations. There are movie recommendations. There are, lyrics that are particularly intellectually stimulating. There are great poems that you can read to your kids, great short stories, and the book is just meant to be super practical, super helpful for parents.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the incorporation of different mediums too, particularly movies. I mean, I'm not saying that people shouldn't read, but there is, amid all of the dreck, there is a lot of great art that's created, and it's just another way that kids and young people can take in information and process and think about it, and maybe it's more interactive in some respects than reading is.
Absolutely. And I find the social, we in the Moskowitz-Granis household, as I mentioned, I have 3 kids. I'm an empty nester now, so my kids are off to college. But we still have family movie night. And not only are there an incredible number of great films, but then you end up puzzling over them. One kid liked it, another kid didn't. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What do you think the meaning was? It actually makes the post-movie dinner time conversation quite lively because you've had this shared experience.
So what are some of the movies you've watched? Just curious.
Well, everything from, I'm a big Humphrey Bogart fan, so Casablanca to The African Queen, all of the Hitchcock films. We just, love sort of the old black and white movies. But even more contemporary movies. My kids loved The In-Laws, It's a Beautiful Life. We watch foreign films. Every Sunday we watched a movie.
So steering clear of like the Matthew McConaughey, Jennifer Lopez oeuvres, probably a good idea. Something else though too. I mean, just with respect to your experience in education, I just wanted you to get to this because I know this is important. The utility of chess.
I mean, I'm just such a believer in the game. I started playing with my eldest son when he was 3 or 4, and at our schools we have 11,000 kids playing chess. And what I love about chess is that it is a thinking person's game where language is off the table because the game is played silently. And the better players, when we compete, our kids compete and tend to decimate other teams around the country. They're playing, each player gets 2 hours on the clock. And the slower players are the better players. So in addition to just, over-indexing or doubly indexing on thinking, chess gets kids to have a level of focus and concentration that helps them in their academic life and in all other aspects of their life. And with chess, there is something called notation. So if you and I are playing chess, I'm writing down your moves and my moves in response, and then I can debrief the entire game. When you did this, could I have made a better move? When I made this move, could you have made a stronger move? So built into the game with notation is a constant debriefing of the game, which increases the learning density tremendously.
Eva Moskowitz is the founder and CEO of Success Academy Charter Schools in New York City, a former New York City Council member. Her new book, A+ Parenting, the surprisingly fun guide to raising surprisingly smart kids. Eva Moskowitz, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on all your success for those kids in your schools, and best of luck with the book.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
It's hard to believe, but 2024 will be here soon. Before you get caught up in all the busy holiday season shopping and whatnot, ask yourself, what are you doing now to put your retirement in a better position for the future? Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. Tom has prepared a 2023 year-end planning report. This report will show you ways to reduce your tax burden on your retirement savings, income strategies that don't depend on a volatile market, and ideas on how to protect and pass down assets to your loved ones. Tom has been helping build financial plans for retirements for over 2 decades, and he's sharing his knowledge and experience in this report. Call Tom today at 630-934-1855 and ask for the 2023 year-end planning report. That's 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Calling all Patriots. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me on the Patriots Alaska cruise in June 2024. We'll dive deep into geopolitical trends and unpack the influences shaping the world today. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other Patriots on an epic 7-day journey. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. Join us from June 29th to July 6, 2024. Book online, patriotsalaskacruise.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
You don't need me to tell you how great it feels to lose weight. If you watch me on Salem News Channel, you may have noticed my 53 pounds of weight loss from PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. What you need me to do is tell you how to do it, and this is the way. This is the only way that I found was effective, was long-lasting. I lost that stubborn, visceral belly fat. I was never hungry. I'm so proud to tell you about Dr. Ashley Lucas's program called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, and they're with you for life. They're going to give you the tools to not only take the weight off for the last time, because you're going to keep it off. It's not the cheapest program out there. It's not the most expensive, but it is the best. It's based on science, data. Use their food, use your food, use a combination of both, but get started. When you're ready to make the call, here's their number, 864-644-1900. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900, or schedule your appointment online, myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. You know, everyone goes to bed, but not everyone goes to sleep. Like many, I have a fairly demanding schedule, right? It's important I get a great night's sleep. I want to be sharp and at my very best. Sleep is something that I used to struggle with. I had tried a number of products to help, but I began searching for a natural solution. Well, I found it from some old friends, Relief Factor. I was at the Relief Factor headquarters, and I learned all about Sleep by Relief Factor. It has been a godsend for me. With Sleep by Relief Factor, I'm finally getting the best night's sleep sleep of my life. I wake up refreshed. I'm never groggy. I feel the difference every single day. I urge you to check out Sleep by Relief Factor. Get your first bottle of Sleep for only $19.95. You'll sleep better, feel better, and get more rest. Call 800-4-RELIEF to order now, or you can go to relieffactor.com/sleep. Call 800-4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com/sleep. If it can help me, there's a good chance it'll help you. Invest in yourself, invest in peace of mind. Relief Factor Sleep.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, which was more disturbing? MFer Spice, Rashida Tlaib's latest video in support of Hamas, or the speech that was given by Hezbollah's leader, the first public speech he's made since 10/7, Hassan Nasrallah, and seeing the number of people on the streets of Beirut cheering him on. We'll discuss with former ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, which could always be spirited, at 7:07.
And why weren't more people arrested on Saturday outside the White House walls? We'll discuss. But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Anti-Semitic flyers and messages found in Chicago and the suburbs. Calls are growing for Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa to step aside. Federal appeals court temporarily upholds Illinois' gun ban. Bajan struggles in a Bears loss to the Saints. WIND Chicago News Time.
A month of war. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and there's no end in sight to Israel's retaliation to Hamas's terror attack.
We understand the Israelis are pushing deeper into the Gaza Strip at this hour. We've heard airstrikes in the distance, and the Israeli military says they hit more than 450 targets over the past 24 hours. They've cut the strip in half, surrounded Gaza City, and are still targeting the tunnel system beneath Gaza.
Where Fox's Trey Yingst reports the Israelis believe Hamas is holding many of those hostages, while officials in Gaza say more than 9,700 Palestinians have been killed. After talks in Turkey today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said,
"We've engaged the Israelis on steps that they can take to minimize civilian casualties. We're working, as I said, very aggressively on getting more humanitarian assistance."
So no humanitarian pause in the fighting just yet, something Secretary Blinken and his boss, the president, both want, and no agreement on the release of hostages either. But we're told one ongoing victory from these talks. The conflict hasn't spread any further afield.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Former President Trump will testify today at his company's fraud trial in New York.
Trump posting on Truth Social this Trump case being presided over by a highly partisan and out-of-control judge who found me guilty before the trial even started.
Fox's Todd Pyro.
The civil suit threatens Trump's ability to do business within New York State, which could force him to give up control of the famous Trump Tower, among other assets.
The former president remains the frontrunner in the 2024 Republican White House race, and a New York Times Siena poll has him leading President Biden in battleground states: Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Today, the president will tout his economic agenda in Delaware.
The White House says the president plans to focus on, quote, the largest investment in passenger rail since the creation of Amtrak, which President Biden would use to commute back and forth to Delaware during his days as a senator.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. America's listening to Fox News.
56 degrees in Chicago. 7:02 is our time on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Jury selection begins today in the federal racketeering case against Alderman Ed Burke. Burke was indicted in 2019 on racketeering, bribery, and attempted extortion charges. Prosecutors claim the former alderman used his power to steer business toward his private tax law firm. Calls for Mayor Brandon Johnson's floor leader to step down are growing louder. He was accused of bullying a city council colleague. A group of community activists now want Carlos Ramirez Rosa to resign.
We asked him to resign. The behavior is inappropriate, unacceptable. We don't feel that he can run our city or even help with the immigrants.
Chicago Aldermanic Black Caucus also released a statement saying they want Ramirez Rosa to step down as floor leader and publicly apologize. Congressman Jonathan Jackson is calling on the rest of Illinois to help Chicago deal with the migrant crisis, discussing the matter yesterday at a town hall meeting.
The state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. Chicago's a sanctuary city. This is not Chicago's burden alone.
His comments come as Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration is still trying to figure out a housing plan for thousands of migrants. A teen boy is among 3 wounded following a shooting on Chicago's southwest side. A 16-year-old and 2 adults were standing on the street Saturday night when they were shot. All 3 are hospitalized but expected to recover. Police are investigating after anti-Semitic messages and flyers were found on Chicago's northwest side, in LaGrange Park, and in Elmhurst. Saints have won back-to-back games after taking down the Bears 24-17 at the Superdome. Tyson Bagent completed 18 of 30 passes for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I think it was all on me. Just forcing a couple plays there, and then you can't afford to take plays off in NFL because they come back to bite you. So got to be sharp on every play.
The Devils score a pair of third-period goals to survive a comeback attempt from the Blackhawks in a 4-2 New Jersey win. Cubs pick up their team options on starting pitcher Kyle Hendricks and catcher Yan Gomes. However, starting pitcher Marcus Stroman will enter free agency. Cody Bellinger declines his mutual option with the team. The News is a service of the Fireplace and Chimney Authority, Chicagoland's largest and most respected fireplace and chimney company. Call to schedule your appointment today, 630-279-8500, or visit their showrooms in Lisle or Elmhurst. 7:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lil's Dietary Shop, Blue Star Security, and by Hope Wins 7.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Valparaiso is a growing community that has become a model city for the Midwest. Valparaiso has momentum, and Matt Murphy wants to make sure we keep moving forward.
Over the past 4 years, we have prioritized public safety by adding additional police officers, firefighters, and school resource officers, and decreased crime by 11%.
Now, Matt Murphy is running for Valparaiso City Council to keep our city on the right track.
We've invested in our infrastructure by paving more than 30 miles of roads. We engaged the next generation by creating the Mayor's Youth Council. We've increased our rainy day fund, improved government transparency by live streaming our meetings, and kept property taxes low.
As a conservative leader, Matt Murphy will work to keep Valpo a strong and thriving community.
We've done a lot, but the work isn't done. Valpo's on the right track, and we need your help to keep conservatives on the City Council. I'm Matt Murphy, and I'm asking for your vote on or before November 7th. Paid for by the committee to elect Matt Murphy.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I've been in private practice of physician's physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe, breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time this morning. We'll start in Vernon Hills, accident US 45 in Port Clinton. Waukegan, Belvedere, and Green Bay Road, an accident. On the expressways and toll roads, we'll start on the Veterans I-355 northbound. Accident, right lane block just south of Ogden Avenue. On the Reagan, due to an earlier accident, big delays eastbound 88 between Cermak and the Ike. On the Dan Ryan inbound, 30 minutes 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. And the Eisenhower, 50 minutes in from Mannheim into the old post office. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A morning shower in the area, otherwise clouds and some sun. A windy, warm day. High today 70. Patchy clouds tonight, low 44. Sun and clouds cooler tomorrow, the high 56. Clouds and occasional rain Wednesday, the high 60. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
56 at O'Hare, 54 degrees at Midway, 51 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden and company, having a real difficult time dealing with the Hamas caucus in their party and the Congress, particularly the House. The Hamas caucus, you know, the socialist Spice Girls, individuals like MFer Spice, Rashida Tlaib, Hamas propagandist Rashida Tlaib. She has posted a new video telling POTUS that she and they are not with him on this one, that he is supporting genocide in Palestine.
We will remember in 2024.
We will remember in 2024 you supported a genocide of the Palestinian people. Support a ceasefire now or don't count on us in 2024. And if you watch the entire minute-and-a-half video, you know, that's mostly imagery, not audio, it's all of the Hamas propaganda combined with amplifying the intemperate protests that are going on in the West, particularly America.
Well, on Saturday, I mean, they tried to storm the White House, and they came up with a new name for President Biden.
Genocide Joe needs to halt his actions immediately and realize that he's going to face massive opposition from Democrat voters next election.
And it's interesting, too, because Biden has not exactly been a profile in courage throughout. They were slow to react. Then they reacted stridently in support of Israel with his nationally televised address to the nation. And then since, in the last week, as we talked about a bit on Friday with Brett Baer, it's really been watered down. There's a lot of equivocating going on and using euphemisms for a ceasefire like humanitarian pause. So is that more disturbing coming from inside the people's house, literally? Or is what we saw on the streets of Beirut, attendant to the first televised speech since October 7th by Hezbollah's terrorist leader Hassan Nasrallah? Now, again, I can't take what I saw on the streets of Beirut at face value. It's hard to make a layman determination about how much is propaganda. But listen to some of what he said in his hour-and-a-half long address to the Muslim world, and some of the reaction you saw on the screen with certainly thousands, I don't know, maybe hundreds of thousands on the streets of Lebanon cheering on Nasrallah. Here's a little flavor of what we're dealing with.
We offer our condolences and at the same time congratulate you as your loved ones have won this honor, the honor of martyrdom. Those fallen martyrs have won, and it is sufficient to go to our holy scripture, the Quran, to read what God Almighty said about them, and we are entitled to take pride in them, and we must
take pride in the terrorist acts that were committed by Hamas.
Yeah, recruiting propaganda.
And then he issued this warning to the United States, and I mean this is a concern. We'll get to this momentarily with John Bolton, but certainly this is a concern because the question is, will Hezbollah expand the war? Will this region become even more violent than it is at present? Here's Nasrallah's warning to the United States of sorts.
Development of events in Gaza. It is the first factor, the development of events in Gaza. That's why this front will devolve according to the nature of development in Gaza and what is required. The second factor that is in play is the conduct and the demeanor of the Zionist enemy towards Lebanon. And here, once again, I warn you not to go further, as many civilians have fallen as martyrs. And this will bring us to the same equation, a civilian for a civilian. Again, the demeanors of the enemy against Lebanon will be a factor in play. I am speaking openly, candidly, and at the same time with ambiguity, constructive ambiguity. All scenarios are open. All scenarios are open on our Lebanese southern front. I reiterate, all scenarios are open. All options are laid out, and we can adopt any at any point of time.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by John Bolton, former ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the UN, former assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, author of the book The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. John Bolton, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
So is that beating the drums of war by Nasrallah, or is it just saber-rattling?
Well, I think he almost used the American phrase, all options are on the table. That's clearly what he means. I mean, I think you have to put what's going on in a strategic perspective, which the White House has certainly failed to do, maybe unable to do, because it can't acknowledge what the real cause here is. And that is that Israel, one of our most important allies, is under sustained attack and threats of attack by a coalition of some of our worst enemies, led by Iran, but now, at least at the political level, involving Russia as well. I can't say I can see clearly what the Iranian strategy is, but I think they've gamed it out, and it's being played out. We don't have a strategy at all. The White House is just absent without leave on this point. worried about humanitarian pauses in Gaza when, in fact, Israel is directly threatened. Our Arab friends in the region are indirectly threatened. We are indirectly threatened, although American forces and other personnel in the region are directly threatened by Iranian surrogates. So Freudian slip. Biden can talk about all his efforts to get the war from expanding more broadly. We are already in a broader war, and our failure to understand that is crippling our ability to deal with it.
So Anthony Blinken visited the West Bank yesterday. What was the purpose of his trip?
Well, to see the Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority, which would purportedly be the group that would take over Gaza once Hamas is destroyed. This is another part of the fantasy because they're still talking about a two-state solution, which died a long time ago and is certainly not something Israel is going to agree to in light of the October 7 attacks. I mean, I think we've got to confront the reality that for almost 75 years now, people have imagined the status of the people in Gaza and the West Bank incorrectly. You know, Palestinian refugees are the only refugees that got that way by hereditary status. All other refugees around the world are only the people who actually had to leave their country of origin to go somewhere else. But Palestinians have been made refugees for 75 years because going back to the beginnings of Israel, the Arab world wanted to use the refugees as a weapon against Israel. Now, obviously, Israel is not going to accept them back, and the rest of the Arab world doesn't want them either.
Is it possible that Iran is using all this overheated rhetoric, like you heard from Nasrallah, as a misdirection play, that they're not really interested in expanding the war beyond Gaza? They're not really interested in providing any additional support to Hamas than they provide as a matter of course, and they're using this to buy more time to develop their nuclear weapons program while we're focused here?
Well, I think that's a possible scenario, and indeed, as I said, I can't say with certainty what their end game is, other than they want to inflict maximum damage on Israel at minimal cost to themselves, to Iran. Let's be clear, the mullahs in Tehran could not care less about the fate of the Palestinian people in Gaza or the West Bank, for that matter. This is all about the campaign against Israel. It's about the mullahs' desire to dominate the Islamic world. There's a lot going on in the background that I think the administration just isn't getting, and we're not talking about at the national political level. But the risk is that because we don't have a strategy, the Iranians can call the shots. Maybe they will escalate. Maybe they will unleash Hezbollah against Israel in the north. The fact is, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels in Yemen have been armed, equipped, trained, and financed by Iran, not for their convenience, but for the convenience of Iran to unleash when it suits the mullahs. What's happening now?
So if that happens, then what should our response be?
Well, look, I think, the first red line that we have to be clear about is when Biden says that attacks on Americans are going to result in consequences for Iran. That red line has already been violated, and there's every risk it's going to happen further. And that's what his first concern should be, the safety of Americans. But second, Israel is our ally, and it is under attack. And to put obstacles in their way to trying to eliminate right now the Hamas threat, I just find unconscionable.
And those obstacles you're referring to are specifically what?
Well, the idea of a humanitarian pause. The Hamas leadership has been conducting this buildup under the pretense of living peacefully with Israel for years. And their deception campaign, their propaganda efforts, disinformation, was obviously enormously successful on October the 7th. Now we're supposed to turn around and believe that they're good for their word, that they're not using hospital basements to store ammunition and tunnels down into their network, that they're not using ambulances to transport Hamas fighters, and that all of the materials coming into the Gaza Strip will be distributed not to Hamas fighters, but to the non-combatants? Really? We're supposed to believe that?
Should we be gaming out, and perhaps this is occurring privately, but gaming out more publicly, what happens to Gaza after Israel ideally eradicates Hamas in terms of governance? Should we be reaching out to Muslim allies, even dubious ones like the Saudis, to try to cobble together some sort of Arab-led coalition that would provide governance in Gaza after the fact? Or is it too early to do that? Is that even possible in a couple of different directions? What about the post-eradication of Hamas?
Well, I think if you don't address the fundamental question, you're just going to have a repeat of this over an extended period of time. Let's take the Palestinian leadership's statements at face value, that they consider themselves refugees, and that's the way they've been treated the past 75 years. It is fundamental refugee policy, enshrined by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees and many others, that where possible, refugees should go back to their country of origin. That's not going to happen here because Israel's not going to take them back. And if the refugees can't go back to their country of origin, they should be resettled. And that means finding countries that are willing to accept people coming from Gaza, which, as I said a few minutes ago, the Arab world is very nervous about. Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan doesn't want them. But somebody's going to have to take them. I think people should understand, before October the 7th, there was essentially almost no viable economic activity in the Gaza Strip. It's not connected to a functioning economy. And if you just leave the people there, it will remain disconnected from normal economic intercourse. For the good of the Palestinians in Gaza, they should go someplace where there's a real economy.
I want to talk a little bit about our border and border security here. In the last week, we had a 20-year-old Palestinian man who was arrested in the U.S. for illegal possession of firearms. He was in direct contact, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Texas, in direct contact with others who, quote, share a radical mindset, and was training with weapons to possibly commit an attack. We also had an incident where Border Patrol unknowingly released an African terrorism suspect into the U.S. after he was caught crossing illegally in Arizona on October 3rd. And a week later, ICE was notified by Homeland Security he was wanted in Senegal for terrorist activities, and then he was arrested in New York on 10/17. I know these are one-offs as far as we know, because we don't know what we don't know, which is also concerning. But what about this? Do these incidents speak to the sort of high alert we should be on? I mean, Christopher Wray has said so, but then the question is, what is Christopher Wray and the Biden administration doing about it?
Well, look, let me say first about Chris Wray. I think he's doing a great job as FBI director. I think he gets a totally bum rap from people who don't really understand how the FBI functions. He's been warning about the threat from China since back at the day I first joined the Trump administration. And I think on the border, he's been sounding the warning, as you've just indicated. Leaving aside the issue of illegal immigration, let's just put that to the side for this purpose. It's been clear for a long time that the southern border is a place where national security threats to the United States are very grave, and our lack of control over that border leaves us vulnerable. Vulnerable as well to the tide of illegal drugs that come in from Mexico, shipped there from around the world, and we definitely need to get more serious about it. This goes back a long way. You know, in the Obama administration, the Justice Department indicted officials from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard for a plot to kill the Saudi ambassador to America in a restaurant in Washington after they crossed the Mexican border into the United States. So this route for terrorists, for our adversaries, is very well known, and we have not effectively closed that access off, and we need to.
What about what happened here on Saturday at the Capitol? I mean, many were trying to tear down the White House gates. They're throwing objects at Secret Service agents, and why no arrest? Don't you think they crossed the line?
I definitely do. I'm a law and order conservative. I think anybody who went into the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, should spend a long time in jail. People who do what some of these people did illegally during this demonstration on Saturday should go to jail too. This. You're entitled to any opinion that you want practically in this country. You're not entitled to try and disrupt the really functioning of government business. It's just not the way this should be allowed.
He is former ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, former assistant to the president for national security affairs, and author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Thanks for joining us again, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-299-7878. That's 800-299-7878. 800-299-7878.
You've heard Rumpke's Garage commercials on AM 560, and now they specialize in servicing Sprinters and light-duty diesels. But the experts at Rumpke's also service Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. So if you own an Isuzu or Chevy low-cab forward truck but aren't sure where to get it repaired, take it to Rumpke's Garage, your #1 dealer alternative for repairs to your Isuzu NPR, Isuzu F-Series, or Chevy low-cab forward truck. Whether gas or diesel, your truck is the lifeline of your business. That's why Rumpke's Garage offers free loaners while your truck is being serviced. They'll even pick up and deliver for your convenience. Rumpke's Garage has the factory scan tool to properly diagnose Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. Their commitment to your business is backed with a complimentary maintenance plan and free 2-year warranty. Go to Rumpke'sGarage.com to learn more about their specialization in Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks and schedule your appointment today. That's Remkes, REMKES, Garage.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I've been in private practice of physician's physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe, breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth, talks about the importance of tax planning in retirement.
A qualified financial planner can take you through all the steps to show you every single legal way you can use to reduce and minimize your state income taxes across the board so that, again, you keep more of your money and your family keeps more of your money.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Yeah, I know. Messages just pouring in response to John Bolton. I know he has to get his little jabs in, and I know he says Christopher Wray does a great job, and then at the same time, Jan 6 rioters should be arrested and prosecuted, but he doesn't really have an answer for why Christopher Wray's FBI doesn't arrest protesters doing similar over the weekend in D.C. I got it. I
You
know.
want to take their calls?
It's almost comical at this point, honestly. No, if it gets people thinking and motivated, all the better. We know how this plays out. He's just a little cranky because of that New York Times Siena poll that finds Trump outside the margin of error, leading Biden in swing states, I'm sure. But at 7:37, let's get to joining the murder in Chicago and what Kim Foxx has to say about it. She's got her, 1 month assessment of the Pritzker purge law with no data to back it up. But anyway, we'll start there at 7:37.
She's a short timer anyway. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
7:33 on AM 560, The Answer, 57 degrees. And this morning, the U.S. is pushing for a humanitarian pause in the Israel-Hamas conflict as Israeli troops escalate their invasion of Gaza surrounding Gaza City. Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveled to Jordan, Turkey, Cyprus, and Iraq to try and strengthen diplomatic ties and address the conflict. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting the possibility of a temporary ceasefire.
We've engaged the Israelis on steps that they can take to minimize civilian casualties. We're working, as I said, very aggressively on getting more humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and we have very concrete ways of doing that.
In other news we're following this morning, former President Donald Trump is set to testify at his civil fraud trial in New York today. Negotiators with SAG-AFTRA could have a response to the latest contract offer from major Hollywood studios later today. Check your freezer. Nearly 30,000 pounds of dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets are being recalled. Over the weekend, the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service announced that Tyson Foods issued a recall for its Fun Nuggets in 29-ounce plastic bags. Jury selection begins today in the federal racketeering case against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Calls for Mayor Brandon Johnson's floor leader to step down are growing louder after he was accused of bullying a city council colleague. A group of community activists is urging Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa to resign over allegations he physically restrained Alderwoman Emma Mitz from entering City Hall.
We asked him to resign. The behavior is inappropriate, unacceptable. We don't feel that he can run our city or even help with the immigrants.
Chicago Aldermanic Black Caucus also released a statement saying they want Ramirez Rosa to step down as floor leader and publicly apologize. Charges pending after a CTA employee was injured in a physical altercation at the Jackson Red Line station. Chicago sports, Saints over the Bears, 24-17. Head coach
Guys
Matt
did a really
Eberflus
good job of taking the ball on the field. I thought that was the first 15 was really good. And, obviously we scored a touchdown there. That was excellent. Got a 4-and-out on defense.
Wasn't enough as the Bears now have a short week to get ready for Carolina. New Jersey over the Blackhawks 4-2. And the White Sox are cleaning house. Southsiders lost 3 players to declined options over the weekend, including infielder Tim Anderson. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. With decades of C-suite experience, Turnkey knows small business. Their team of veteran consultants knows how to reduce costs and grow new revenue streams. Turnkey has solutions for your business. Visit Turnkey.pro, Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard, Tom Miraboli, independent insurance agent with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, and by OverheadDoorChicago.com.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts, knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Barry, God has chosen you to have a son.
The greatest story ever told is now an epic Christmas musical for the whole family.
I won the mother found. You are in danger, Barry.
Starring Fiona Palomo, Milo Manheim, Lecrae, Joel Smallbone, and Academy Award nominee Antonio Banderas.
This child, what is his name?
Jesus.
Journey to Bethlehem, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. In theaters everywhere this Friday. Soundtrack also available. Get tickets now at JourneyToBethlehem.com.
Don't miss the new movie by Dinesh D'Souza, Police State.
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech.
MAGA Republicans threaten the very foundation of our republic.
Are we becoming a police state?
The government is trying to crush the conservative movement, our society, and our freedoms.
They define you as radical.
How did we give the state this kind of power?
If they're coming for me, they're coming for you.
Police State. Buy it or stream it now at policestatefilm.net. Policestatefilm.net. Cable news. Noisy, out of touch, on repeat. Tired of all the lookalikes? So are we. Salem News Channel is here to change the game. Streaming 24/7, free on your TV with the greatest collection of conservative voices. Home to Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Like you, we say what's wrong and what's right. Unfiltered and unapologetic. Salem News Channel. We're the answer to the mainstream media. Learn more at snc.tv.
Retirement planning can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Tune in to Retirement and Income Radio, hosted by well-known Chicagoland financial educator Mark Kohler. Mark helps listeners in or near retirement protect their savings from market volatility while creating lifetime guaranteed income. Listen to Retirement and Income Radio Sunday afternoons at 3:30 on AM 560 The Answer, or call Mark now at 844-619-SAFE.
Pluto TV has all your rom-com favorites, all for free. It's TV the way it should be. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
7:40, let's check the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. We'll start on the Edens, 37 Lake Cook Road to the junction, the Kennedy at an hour 20 now from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, it's an hour from 390 into the old post office. Dan Ryan, 33 from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson settling in at 55 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Veterans Toll Road, right lane block with an accident. Northbound 355 south of Ogden Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Mostly cloudy until the early afternoon, then becoming partly cloudy. You might see an isolated rain shower throughout the day. Highs will top out near 70. Currently 57. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Come join the murder. Come fly with black. Well, he'll give you
Top of the morning,
freedom.
Dan and Amy. Kim Fox is theme music as long as we have her in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. She sat down with WTTW.
Say it.
Wilmette talking to Winnetka.
Thank you.
To give her assessment. You know, it's already been a month since the Pritzker Purge Law has gone into effect. Everything going well?
How's it going?
It couldn't be going better.
So it's been more than a month since the elimination of cash bail in Illinois. Would you say it's meeting intended goals?
Absolutely. I mean, the intention was to make sure that people who posed a threat to public safety were able to be detained and people who didn't were released. And the numbers are telling us murder, attempt murder, vehicular hijacking, those people are being detained pre-trial, and we're seeing less people who are in the jail for nonviolent, low-level offenses.
It's going great. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. Pay no attention to the 3 people murdered in Brighton Park or that 11-year-old girl who was critically injured when a bullet went through her window in West Englewood over the weekend. Violent weekend in Chicago.
I know.
8
She's
dead,
still in
I think.
critical condition, and the neighbor was mad that people were walking through his yard.
11 people mugged during 2 hours of daytime robberies on Saturday in Logan Square and Humboldt Park. 10 armed robberies reported within 45 minutes. Take that, Humboldt Park and Logan Square. 11 armed robberies reported within 45 minutes on the southwest side. That's all this weekend.
They're trying to win the Olympics for armed robberies.
Couldn't be going better. Interesting, too. Well, let's hear a little bit more from Kim Fox because I want to get to the electronic monitoring piece. But Cook County Jail's population is decreasing. It's decreased significantly. Now, this is a trend that's been going on for a while under Tony Preckwinkle. Remember when she ran for Cook County Board President, her main goal was to reduce the population at Cook County Jail. Well, that's going very well, too.
Yeah, I think judges were preparing in anticipation of the Pretrial Fairness Act going into place September 18th. And so we were seeing those numbers dip. And then I think, again, we're seeing cases where people who were not going to be detained were not being held. And so those numbers, those low-level nonviolent offenses, those people are not languishing for even a day or two. So that's why that daily population is staying low.
Yep, she's happy to report that for the first time in 40 years, the daily population of Cook County Jail is fewer than 5,000. People of Cook County, residents of Cook County, you should take pride in this.
I will say, and the people of Cook County should be really proud of the coordination and collaboration between our office, the public defender, the sheriff, the judiciary. And so, the first week with something so monumental and new, we knew we were going to see some rough spots. But overall, I think it has been relatively seamless given the gravity of what we're doing.
I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. Seamless. Be proud of your criminal justice system in Cook County residents. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. Now, I know what your concern is. Are there too many people in the no cash bail regime now that are being unfairly limited with electronic monitors? Are there too many?
Oh, that's the concern now.
The concern is there's too many. You don't want to use electronic monitoring as a way to sort of de facto imprison people pending trial. And there's good news on that front, too.
I'm certain they're going to continue to look at that, but that hasn't borne out in any way. The numbers have remained relatively steady and maybe a very slight dip in the number of people on electronic monitoring. And so I think we were gearing up and anticipating that might be the offset. If you're not held in custody, then they'll put you on a bracelet. But the numbers thus far have not borne that out.
Thank God. The good news, there are fewer people on electronic monitoring as well as in Cook County Jail. Now, this is, of course, not proposing that people be held in Cook County Jail or put on electronic monitoring for no reason. But it's also an odd position to take for a prosecutor to just suggest that declining numbers to near historic lows is in and of itself a good. That seems to me a bit curious, doesn't it?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Now, we also have this situation. We brought it to you last week, but just in the context of the good news about electronic monitoring that Kim Fox shared with us. Chicago man jailed to await trial after prosecutors said he viciously stabbed his ex's new boyfriend while on bail for a pending felony gun case. This guy is the 23rd person accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone in Chicago while awaiting trial for a separate felony. The cases involve at least 37 victims, 11 of whom died. So, yeah, there's always that part of it. I mean, this is just one subset, but it would seem to me that the fact that he was on electronic monitoring and then allegedly committed an attempted murder, that doesn't seem to me like an indicia of success. But that's me, and I'm a bit of a stickler. I know those are the annualized stats. That's this calendar year so far. But and the Pritzker Purge law has only been in effect for a little bit more than a month and a half. But, of course, as we know, or you should know if you're a Cook County resident, Kim Fox and Tim Evans have been sort of operating under the Pritzker Purge law in a de facto way before it went into effect, long before it went into effect, like since she took office.
Exactly. And that's what, like people downstate, they're getting a taste of what it's been like living in Chicago. Because remember when it came into effect, I posted video on my Twitter account of people just being released from prison. And the sheriff said, a reporter asked, well, where are they going? He said, back into the neighborhoods where they allegedly committed their crimes. And there's nothing we can do about it. It was just a string of people coming out of county jail.
That doesn't square with what Kim Fox is saying, because there is no recidivism.
So far, that hasn't borne out. I mean, and keeping in mind it's only been about 5 weeks, but we have not seen an uptick in people who were released committing new crimes or people not returning to their court dates. And so I think, the fear-mongering that happened before this bill went into effect of the jails were going to be emptied and people were going to be running the streets is not borne out. What we've seen is that people who have posed a threat to public safety are now being detained, and as they should, and that people who are not a threat are allowed to go out and live their lives and come back and be held accountable without having to use our jail resources.
I mean, it's going beautifully. Are you sure you don't want to come back downtown for dinner and a show, you suburbanites? I mean, did you hear this? It's a tranquil city. It's a city you should enjoy. I mean, unless you're facing armed robbers and on the Southwest Side or robbery crews in Humboldt Park or Logan Square.
They're even stealing dogs.
Unless you're a little girl who lives in West Englewood. I know those are just anecdotes. She's looking at the macro level. So on balance, things are going very, very well. Text from criminal defense attorney 773. It used to be difficult to hear in custody defendants on Zoom. It used to be difficult to hear custody defendants on Zoom because of the noise in the lockup. Now it's quiet, maybe two prisoners, and stacked chairs in the background. See? It's so much better.
Oh, yeah.
I sent this over to our friend Ted Dabrowski at WirePoints for comments, and so WirePoints has done a lot of analytical work on this. Here were some of his comments in reaction to what you just heard from Kim Fox. One, she's hiding behind the 2017 Chief Judge Tim Evans's no bail, low cash bail reforms, which began long before the Safety Act, to the point I just made. Also, the types of criminals out on electronic monitoring are much more dangerous than before. The real comparison is now versus 2016, far more dangerous criminals. The jail count is way down over a long trend, but now count is headed down again. And, the other thing, too, is it's just too early to make sweeping pronouncements because it's just been a short time since the Pritzker Purge law has been in effect. It's too early to make sweeping announcements outside of Cook County, where Cook County has been operating under the Pritzker Purge Law, and as I said, in a de facto way for the past 6 years. So nothing new here for Cook County, but it is getting new for the collar counties and the exurbs and the rest of the state. Okay. Well, I feel better. How about you? Ron, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Danny. She talks like she works for the public defender's office. She's a prosecutor, and she said we should not be wasting the resources of the jail. What else are you going to do with the jail? You want to put the migrants there? 2020 can't come soon enough. And I'm glad that she's getting out of there. Don't have to waste time to get it. She's an absolute embarrassment. But the lady is delusional if you listen to her. She's been terrible. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ron. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. I got a few. A guy with a black guy with a monitor on his ankle was having sex in a park over at Irving and Narragansett. That's a doozy. The Walgreens I go to, Montrose and Centrose, have 3 armed robberies in the last year. Walgreens at Canfield and Higgins over there has had 2 or 3 armed robberies in the past few months in the parking lot. Carjackings at Mariano's on Cumberland. The Northwest Side is becoming, one of the new prime areas for these thugs to come and do whatever the hell they want, and there is absolutely no nothing. I had a buddy who's a lawyer, Cumberland and Sunnyside by Montrose there, walking in his neighborhood in the morning, 7:15 in the morning, car pulls up, 4 black guys in it. Can you tell us where the post office is around here at 7:15 in the morning? Unbelievable. This stuff is not going to end with these clowns that we got in office. Have a good one.
Well, I can tell you at the Mariano's in Park Ridge, because I often shop there, they have a Park Ridge police officer stationed there at all times. Because they're worried about more carjackings and theft going on inside the store and outside the store in the parking lot.
Recidivism is no higher than normal. Well, yeah, that's a little bit of a deceptive statement, isn't it? What's the recidivism rate generally? This all against the backdrop. Very interesting piece in the NPR Times, state-run media, profiling West Garfield Park. I thought, well, things are going. This is the NPR Times. No city in America sees more shootings than Chicago. What? That's just big city living. Chicago's no different than any other big city. It's just what happens in big cities. Wait, what? No city in America sees more shootings than Chicago, reports the NPR Times. Huh. And nowhere in the city is gun violence more intense than in West Garfield Park. The Square Mile neighborhood, just west of one of the largest botanical conservatories in the country, has seen nearly 1,000 shootings over the last 5 years, roughly one every other day. 1,000 shootings over the last 5 years. How long has Kim Foxx been in office? One every other day. The population of West Garfield Park has fallen steadily since the 1950s, dwindling to 17,000 people today. Gosh, I wonder why.
I wouldn't want to stay there.
And so they profile all of these individuals who live in West Garfield Park and who have stayed despite the nearly constant gunfire. Their description. These NPR Times goo-goos and their crime porn. Come on. It's going well. These are all black residents. A mother who wants her 2 sons to grow up without seeing what she did as a child. Former gang members who've been in the line of fire now trying to find some peace. A restaurateur looking to nourish the people of his community. An anti-violence worker trying to pull gang members off the streets and into therapy, education, and jobs. Gang members off the streets? What are you talking about? That sounds like a situation where you have habitual violent criminals on the streets. That doesn't sound like the description that Kim Foxx is presenting.
No, she was like all rainbows and unicorns. Everything's fine.
Jim and Lyle.
Hey, Dan, I live in Lyle, obviously. You just said that. And over the summer, I took my granddaughter with my wife to the Lyle Water Park, and it was to our amazement when we saw a gentleman in the zero-depth pool area where the little kids are walking around with an ankle monitor on.
Because they get 48 hours, but they get 48 hours off. I don't understand. People who have committed violent crimes against people, 5 days in and then 48 off. And they do go to pools, they go to beaches, they go around. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Meet your new neighbors. Capricia Northfleet is a 28-year-old mom, delivery driver, mother of 2 sons. And by the way, I feel terrible for these residents who can't get out of West Garfield Park and so many other neighborhoods. Interesting what she said. I'm quoting her. We hear the gunshots. When they hear it, her kids, I say, them firecrackers, they are really popping them firecrackers out there. I don't want to say, oh, they're gunshots, they're shooting. She has a lot in common with Kim Fox. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth, talks about the importance of tax planning in retirement.
A qualified financial planner can take you through all the steps to show you every single legal way you can use to reduce and minimize your state income taxes across the board so that, again, you keep more of your money and your family keeps more of your money.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Important races that will be decided around the country on Tuesday in Kentucky and Virginia, in Pennsylvania. Bellwethers for next year, 8:08.
But now it's now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He'll be sitting next to the judge he calls crazy, dangerous, and a disgrace. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump will be on the witness stand today in New York, defending the Trump Organization in a civil trial he just posted on Truth Social is a witch hunt with zero merit.
Attorney General Letitia James has filed a $250 million lawsuit accusing them of inflating Trump's net worth in order to get favorable insurance and loan deals.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
The trial is being heard not by a jury but by a judge, which is different from the former president's other legal issues that include 4 criminal indictments.
Now, that judge has already ruled that Trump's committed fraud. The former president remains way ahead in the 2024 Republican race, and as Fox's Peter Ducey reports from the White House, he's leading President Biden in key states.
By 5 points in Arizona, in Georgia by 6 points, in Michigan by 5 points, Nevada by 11 points, and Pennsylvania by 4 points. These are New York Times Siena polls that have Biden ahead in just one battleground right now, Wisconsin, where he leads by 2.
Today, the president, an avid train rider, plans to announce the biggest investment in passenger rail since Amtrak was created. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held talks in Turkey today related to Israel's war against Hamas that rages the 31st day.
We remain very focused on the hostages held by Hamas, including Americans,
in making sure we're doing everything possible to bring them home.
And he's urging Israelis to limit Palestinian casualties. Nearly 10,000 have been killed, and he's urging faster humanitarian aid. Outside a White House gate, red handprints depicting the blood of civilians in Gaza are still visible.
After thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators descended on Washington over the weekend.
You're going to breed Hamas when you continue to keep occupying the people.
Protesters vandalized the fence outside the White House and sprayed graffiti with anti-Israel sentiments on several buildings across the nation's capital.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. America's listening to Fox News.
57 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago Fire Department battling a high-rise blaze in a 10-story building along South Cottage Grove Avenue. Chicago Fire does confirm that there has been at least one rescue and the fire is confined to one unit. In Waukegan today, the bench trial of the father of the alleged Highland Park shooter is set to begin. Motions will be allowed this morning and cameras will be allowed in the courtroom. Prosecutors are alleging the father, Robert Cremo Jr., had known about his son's violent thoughts in the years before Robert Cremo III opened fire on a July 4th parade in the north suburb. Cremo III remains in jail after being charged in the mass shooting. We are hearing reports this morning from City Hall that the progressive floor leader of Mayor Brandon Johnson will be stepping down as chair and resigning from the zoning committee after being accused of bullying and getting physical with 37th Ward Alderwoman Emma Mitz before a city council vote last Thursday. According to the Black Caucus, Ramiro's Rosa prevented Emma Mitz from entering the council floor and voting. Mitz is expected to meet with reporters later today. Jury selection also begins later today in the federal racketeering case against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Burke was indicted in 2019 on racketeering, bribery, and attempted extortion charges. Saints over the Bears 24-17 at the Superdome. Devils over the Blackhawks 4-2 on ice. NCAA men's basketball season tips off this week. Some big early games, the Fighting Illini and Eastern Illinois, while Northwestern has a home game against Binghamton. The news is a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. It's 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Oil prices are higher. Saudi Arabia and Russia are reaffirming their commitment to oil supply cuts until the end of the year. Oil futures were lower last week. Shares of Dish Network are slumping. The satellite TV service reported a surprise loss in the summer quarter. Its number of both pay TV and wireless subscribers declined. Berkshire Hathaway shares are higher. Warren Buffett's investment firm reported a record profit of $10.8 billion in the summer quarter. Thousands of pounds of chicken nuggets are being recalled because they could contain metal. Tyson Foods is recalling breaded chicken Fun Nuggets after complaints that metal pieces were found in them. The nuggets are shaped like dinosaurs. There was only one report of a minor oral injury. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Automated Systems Incorporated, HealthInsuranceMentors.com, and by Illinois Concealed Carry Training.
America is at a tipping point. Dennis Prager here to tell you about a new movie you should see. Dinesh D'Souza's movie, Police State, exposes the government's relentless persecution of the conservative movement. The America we know and love is becoming more and more like a police state every day. The FBI has turned its eyes away from the real dangers in the world to target what they call domestic terrorists, with a totalitarian agenda that's treating conservative Americans like criminals. They're targeting their political opponents, using mass surveillance and censorship, indoctrinating our children, and threatening people who speak their minds and stand up for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and God-given American liberties. Directed by Dinesh D'Souza, Debbie D'Souza, and Bruce Schooley, Police State sounds the alarm. You have to see this movie, Police State. Buy it or stream it now at policestatefilm.net. That's policestatefilm.net.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
8:09. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. South side, we told you about that structure fire in the 3500 block of South Cottage Grove. Lots of emergency equipment on the scene there. Darien, an accident, Lamont Road, south of 83rd. Veterans Memorial Toll, I-355, accident right shoulder northbound, just south of Maple. Traveling on the tri-state, you've got stop-and-go traffic northbound between 75th and the Hinsdale Oasis. To Saba Lakeshore Drive, 19 minutes on your southbound trip from Hollywood down to Monroe. Bishop Ford and I-57 jamming into the Ryan merge. And the Ryan almost at 40 minutes now, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
A morning shower in the area, otherwise clouds and some sun. A windy, warm day. High today 70. Patchy clouds tonight, low 44. Sun and clouds cooler tomorrow, the high 56. Clouds and occasional rain Wednesday, the high 60. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare, 55 Midway, 51 Aurora, and 56 in Wheeling. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So as Mike Scott's been reporting all morning, this new New York Times Siena College survey Trump versus Biden. Trump leads Biden by 10 points in Nevada, 6 points in Georgia, 5 points in Arizona, 5 points in Michigan, 4 points in Pennsylvania. He's down 2 to Biden in Wisconsin. Now, Biden carried all 6 of those states in 2020. But now 59% of voters in those states say they disapprove of Biden's performance, to 38% say they approve. Meanwhile, 71% of respondents said Biden is too old to be an effective president, compared to 39% who said the same about Trump. I mean, 39% is not a good number, but when you're plus 32 against your opponent, your likely opponent, it's not a bad number either. It's going to make it tough for Republicans on the debate stage in Miami on Wednesday night to make the argument that Trump is unelectable. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. In all 5 of those states that he's up, Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, he's up outside the margin of error. Now, a couple of cautions.
What?
One is that it was registered voters, not likely voters. I like likely. Okay. Number 2, snapshot in time. Things can change. How the larger public reacts if and when Trump is convicted on some of the charges he's facing and some of the trials that proceed before next November. That will be impactful, perhaps. Although I think a lot of people have baked into their position that Trump will be convicted of something.
Well, they're throwing lots of stuff against the wall to see what sticks. But I mean, consider too, 76% of Americans say this country is heading in the wrong direction.
Right, not a good number for your incumbent.
No. And even David Axelrod, he was floating the idea on Twitter last night that Biden could drop out of the 2024 race. He took to Twitter or whatever, saying it's very late to change horses. A lot will happen in the next year that no one can predict. And Biden's team says his resolve to run is firm. He's defied CW before, but this will send tremors of doubt through the party.
There's no question. Thus, the late primary challenge by that Congressman Dean Phillips from Minnesota. But as we've discussed before, Biden Incorporated has every incentive to stick it out if they want to avoid the possible fate of a Donald Trump out of office. So I don't see it changing. Again, we're basically just under 2 months from the Iowa caucus, for the Republicans, of course. Just under 2 months for that. And to say late in the game is an understatement. And I suspect that's more wishful thinking on Axelrod's part than the reality within Democrat ranks. Which is why some of these races that are going to be decided in tomorrow in places like Kentucky and Virginia and Pennsylvania may be instructive. Particularly in Kentucky, governor's race there. Andy Beshear is a Democrat, but it's an unusual circumstance. He sort of presents as a moderate Democrat, even though he's completely aligned with the cultural Marxists on these issues, these salient issues of the day. His father was a governor, the lineage. Daniel Cameron is the Attorney General of the state of Kentucky. He is the first black statewide elected official in Kentucky's history. He's the first Republican Attorney General there in 70 years. He's also 37 years old, young guy. He's extremely sharp, which is why if you haven't heard of Daniel Cameron, that's why you haven't heard of him. Because they don't want to put any attention on this guy. I was going to say kid, but he's not a kid. He's Attorney General of the state of Kentucky. Oh, he played football at Louisville, too, by the way. He is a superstar waiting to break out. I mean, he could go from Kentucky governor to national very quickly, in my view.
Yep.
And you may remember him, not because the press corps is giving you any profile in the Kentucky governor's race. They don't want to. They've tried to keep it as under the radar as possible. Beshear has gone from a lead of 16 points to a dead heat as of this weekend. I mean, Kentucky, as everyone knows, is a state that in presidential races goes for the Republican by 25 points, but state and local races are different. You know, personalities matter. People make independent decisions on, for example, a governor's race that may differ from what they do in a presidential contest. And Cameron is an unapologetic conservative. So it's not like, oh, he's middling it. No. Mm-mm.
You know where he stands.
The thing that's happening there too is a lot of Kentucky residents that may have been inclined to Beshear are losing faith in the results that they're getting. Selena Zito did a write-up on this for Washington Examiner, which is quite good. She talked to a mom of three who said less than half of Kentucky kids can read at grade level. They're still doing better than Illinois. Yeah. And Beshear never addresses it in a meaningful way. He has never apologized for placing our children in this position in reaction to COVID, for example. In Kentucky, the rate of Kentucky students labeled chronically absent jumped to 30% in 2022, up from 18% the year before the pandemic.
That's huge.
And so, you know, Beshear, who's running on bringing battery plants to the state for EVs. Have you heard that somewhere before?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Don't forget what he did to your kids during COVID. That's what I have to say.
Well, right.
Because he was one of the original COVIDians, remember?
And trying to make up for it with battery plans for EVs is not winning the day. She writes, Selena Zito, there's a fairly decent chance Wednesday morning much of the national press will wake up and ask again. This has happened before when Bevin beat Conway in Kentucky. Will wake up and ask, what happened? If so, they will have missed two things. First, education does matter to parents, in particular one who now sees the effects of poor education has had on the college-educated students of today, who are beclowning themselves and attacking Jewish students. And also it's just the star power of Cameron. If Cameron wasn't such an impressive young man, this may not be happening. But so there's his talent as a leader and a candidate, but he has a record as Attorney General, and he's taken on some of the tough cases, like the incident with Breonna Taylor and cops in Louisville. And when those cops were not charged, when she was shot and killed, remember, she was Breonna Taylor's one of the names invoked by the Black Lives Matter crowd. She was in an apartment with a known drug dealer and a suspect. He opened fire on the cops, and they returned fire, and she was unfortunately killed in the crossfire. But he took on that case, and when the jury declined to approve charges on the cops, he had this to say.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in a proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant.
Which was what the purveyors of agitprop were saying about it. This is against state-level charges, different and distinct from local. On Taylor's boyfriend, the drug dealer that cops wanted.
Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there is no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns.
So you had an attorney general who and a grand jury who was presenting what we know to be true, and they made a judgment based on the evidence, a novel concept in many of the criminal justice systems around the country these days. Please see Cook County. Daniel Cameron had a speaking role at the COVID conventions back in 2020.
Oh, yeah. So
And he had this to say about himself.
I also think about Joe Biden, who says, if you aren't voting for me, you ain't black, who argued that Republicans would put us back in chains, who says there is no diversity of thought in the black community. Mr. Vice President, look at me. I am black. We are not all the same, sir. I am not in chains. My mind is my own. And you can't tell me how to vote because of the color of my skin. Joe Biden is a backwards thinker in a world that is craving forward-looking leadership. There's no wisdom in his record or plan, just a trail of discredited ideas and offensive statements.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. One other statement from Cameron during that RNC address.
The politics of identity, cancellation, and mob rule are not acceptable to me. Republicans trust you to think for yourself and to pursue your American dream however you see fit.
It's a nice, succinct projection of identity politics. Also a good indication of what kind of governor Daniel Cameron will be, as he has been during his time as Attorney General. And it's interesting because of the damage control that Democrat socialists are trying to do, the identitarians are trying to do in reaction to this New York Times Siena poll. Give you an example. Jasmine Crockett, she's a Democrat from Texas. She's one of the lesser-known socialist Spice Girls.
Well, she's a wannabe. She's like a groupie at this point, but I think she might be elevated up.
No, she's a member.
Oh,
she's a member in full standing, but she's sort
JB?
of she's like the Eric Singer of the Socialist Spice Girls. Do you know who that is?
Eric Singer? No. Which one?
He's
is
the
he?
drummer for Kiss.
Oh,
right. You know Paul Stanley. You know
I know
Gene
Paul
Simmons.
Stanley, Gene Simmons. I don't know the brains.
You know
behind
Ace
that version, the
Frehley.
beat behind
You
it.
don't know Eric Singer, and that's kind of what Jasmine Crockett is. You don't know her. Here's what she said about the drop in black support for Biden, which was reflected in that New York Times Siena survey, which in part explained Trump's lead in those swing states.
Here's the deal. Perception is reality. And so when you look at the data that was provided in this poll, it talks about how people feel. And when people decide whether they're going to the poll or whether they're not going to the poll, it's all about how you feel in that moment. And so while the facts may not align with their feelings are dictating their reality. Their reality is that they said that they feel better or they felt better when Trump was in office. But we've been trying to push back. We've got some very popular African-American artists that are out here saying things like, oh, I got checks when Trump was in office. I want those checks again, not understanding that that really came from Congress. So we've got a couple of things, the perception issue, and then we also have an issue as it relates to civics in this country and people not understanding exactly how any of this works.
Okay, is she saying that black voters are too dumb to understand what's going on?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's not insulting.
Interesting pitch.
Yeah.
About the lack of understanding of civics. Who's in charge of the schools? Tom in Blue Island, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, I'm still holding out hope we can get a conciliatory message from Mr. DeSantis at Wednesday's vice presidential debate. Trump can suppress his ego. They can get in there. Trump can take the sledgehammer to the glass menagerie that is D.C. DeSantis can clean it up for 8 years, get rid of scumbag chicken hawks like John Bolton. Thank you.
Well, hope isn't a strategy, Tom, but we'll see. I think, it's going to be hard charging to the end, and then once you have a nominee solidified, that's the time for conciliation. So I don't blanch at the prospect of a hard-fought race, but then you have to fall in line behind the winner after the fact, I suppose. I suppose that's the right and proper play. Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, so the poll is on for swing states, right? So I'm curious, could this be like predicted of DuPage, could that be considered a swing county? So is there hope for DuPage County to come back?
Yeah, I wouldn't hold out much hope, Kevin. I mean, the difference between, say, DuPage County and other collars and those swing states that are in play and where Trump is leading is they have a Republican Party. They have an opposition party. They have like to varying degrees, but they have a functioning party that does stuff as reflected in many of those states, people in office. I mean, Brian Kemp and Republicans are in charge of the state of Georgia, for example. There is Republican control of some of the branches of government in those swing states. That is easy to distinguish from Illinois, isn't it? Including at the county level these days. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Check out the America's Talking podcast, a show featuring thoughtful conversations with host Austin Berg and guests that range from opioid epidemic expert Dr. Limpke.
What are the best predictors of a person's ability or likelihood of success in overcoming an addiction?
Really interesting question. I mean, it's a combination of the biopsychosocial aspects that make up the disease of addiction in the first place. Biology speaks to the sort of inborn or innate vulnerability to addiction that person has in their DNA. What's their genetic load?
To stand-up comedian Mark Normand.
For me, it was a couple things. I was finally getting some heat. I opened for Seinfeld. I did Joe Rogan. I had a Tonight Show come out. I was like cooking. And then the COVID hit. I was selling tickets for the first time in my life.
Listen to the America's Talking podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Have you noticed cracked or sinking concrete around your home, driveways, sidewalks, garage floors, or patios? In addition to looking bad, cracked or sinking concrete causes an uneven surface that poses a safety hazard. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. Would you like to fix the problem without replacing the concrete? We have the solution for you. Permaseal polylevel foam can be injected beneath concrete surfaces, leveling and preventing future settlement. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL for a free evaluation. The polylevel process is done with minimal disruption, quickly and at a fraction of the cost of concrete replacement. And unlike traditional mud jacking methods, polylevel foam is lightweight so it doesn't add additional weight to the area. Polylevel is the most durable and cosmetically appealing solution to your cracked or sinking concrete. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-SEAL or visit permaseal.net.
Best for being better, Permaseal.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Valparaiso is a growing community that has become a model city for the Midwest. Valparaiso has momentum, and Matt Murphy wants to make sure we keep moving forward.
Over the past 4 years, we have prioritized public safety by adding additional police officers, firefighters, and school resource officers, and decreased crime by 11%.
Now, Matt Murphy is running for Valparaiso City Council to keep our city on the right track.
We've invested in our infrastructure by paving more than 30 miles of roads. We engaged the next generation by creating the Mayor's Youth Council. We've increased our rainy day fund, improved government transparency by live streaming our meetings, and kept property taxes low.
As a conservative leader, Matt Murphy will work to keep Valpo a strong and thriving community.
We've done a lot, but the work isn't done. Valpo's on the right track, and we need your help to keep conservative conservatives on the city council. I'm Matt Murphy, and I'm asking for your vote on or before November 7th. Paid for by the committee to elect Matt Murphy.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, you can't beat a plan with no plan. Raphael Mangual has one. Raphael Mangual from the Manhattan Institute on the new model legislation that they've come up with to incapacitate serious criminals. 8:38.
And Dan, people were asking where you were at the Northwestern Iowa football game. And guess what I told them?
In the bathroom in Naples.
There you Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 8:30 on AM 560, 8:33 on AM 560. The answer, Israel's intense bombing of Gaza continues. Fox's Jonathan Savage has more.
Explosions light up the night sky over Gaza, a territory Israel now says it has divided in two. We're told fighter jets have attacked 450 targets in the last day, while troops encircle Gaza City on the ground. But with communications down for several hours in the Strip, it's been hard to get a full picture. Humanitarian concerns remain high, but for the first time an airdrop of aid has been delivered to southern Gaza. It was supplied by Jordan and is said to consist of medical equipment and food. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
The U.S. is pushing for that humanitarian pause as Secretary of State Antony Blinken continues speaking in Turkey with those in the Middle East. Former President Donald Trump is set to testify at his civil fraud trial in New York today, and negotiators with SAG-AFTRA could have a response to the latest contract offer from major Hollywood studios later today. Chicago fire battling a high-rise blaze in a 10-story building along South Cottage Grove this morning. Chicago Fire so far confirms the blaze is confined to a couple of units and at least one rescue has taken place. The bench trial of the father of the alleged Highland Park shooter is set to begin today. Motions will be allowed this morning and cameras will be in the courtroom as prosecutors allege the father of the Highland Park shooter, Robert Crimo Jr., knew about his son's violent thoughts in the years before Robert Crimo III opened fire on July 4th. We're hearing reports from City Hall this morning that the progressive floor leader of Mayor Brandon Johnson will be stepping down from that role and resigning from the zoning committee after being accused of bullying and getting physical with 37th Ward Alderwoman Emma Mitz before a city council vote last Thursday. Carlos Ramirez Rosa, according to those there, prevented Mitz from entering the council floor and voting. Mitz is expected to meet with reporters later today. Police are investigating after an anti-Semitic message and flyers were found on Chicago's northwest side and discovered in the suburbs in LaGrange Park and Elmhurst on Saturday morning. Chicago sports. Looks like the Bears will end up putting another L in the loss column, falling to New Orleans at the Superdome. and New Jersey beat the Blackhawks 4-2. The news, a service of Townstone Financial. Townstone Financial can help you purchase a home faster and almost as easy as typing TOWNSTONE.com or by calling 312-896-2110. Illinois Mortgage Licensee 6629, NMLS 136639. 8:36 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Best Dental Group of Bartlett, the Illinois Family Institute, and by Alpha Wealth Group.
Harry, God has chosen you to have a son.
The greatest story ever told is now an epic Christmas musical for the whole family.
I won the mother found. You are in danger, Mary.
Starring Fiona Palomo, Milo Manheim, Lecrae, Joel Smallbone, and Academy Award nominee Antonio Banderas.
This child, what is his name? Jesus.
Journey to Bethlehem, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. In theaters everywhere this Friday. Soundtrack also available. Get tickets now at journeytobethlehem.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Everyone knows the old saying, nothing lasts forever. Well, whoever said that obviously never bought a timeshare. Not only do your maintenance fees and assessment fees go on forever, they go up forever. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Over 10 years ago, I was a timeshare salesman. But once I saw the dark side of the business, I quit. I started helping folks get out of their timeshares. Since then, we've helped over 30,000 families by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-839-8484. That's 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Horrified Americans have watched anti-Semitism erupt on elite college campuses. At Harvard, more than 30 student groups blamed Israel for the Hamas attacks. Penn will host an internationally condemned anti-Semite during the High Holy Days. Course material at Princeton promotes blood libels against Jews. Cornell students were advised to avoid a Jewish center after threatening messages were posted online. It's been an open secret that China has funded Confucius Institutes at our universities. Less known is that Arab sources gave American universities some $4.3 billion between 1986 and 2021. That can buy a lot of influence. Cornell, Harvard, and NYU are among the biggest recipients of Arab funding, with Cornell having taken the most, a whopping $1.5 billion. Our universities have been targets of foreign-funded influence campaigns. It's time to stop their toxic gravy train.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Wealth Management Group, hosted by Craig and Leslie Bolano Sunday mornings at 10. Learn more at investwithwmg.com.
8:40. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Blindster.com. Selling millions of custom blind shades and shutters to satisfied customers across the country. 20,000 5-star reviews. Blindster.com. Eden's at 47 heavy minutes from Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at 90 minutes right now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Eisenhower is at a solid hour from 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, 45 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound, bad accident a rollover with 2 left lanes blocked. It's outbound between 59th and the Skyway. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We'll have mostly cloudy skies off and on through the early afternoon. Chance of light rain showers through the midday. Breezy in the afternoon, and we'll top out near 70. Currently 59 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Now, our next guest, Rafael Manguel from the Manhattan Institute, he and his compatriots have come up with model legislation to deal with violent crime in America. And I assume it's just cutting and pasting what we've done here in Illinois with the Pritzker Purge Law. Because, again, stop believing your lying eyes. Stop believing, conservative talkers with their crime porn. And start believing professional prosecutors like Kim Foxx, who has nothing but good news to report about what's happening in Cook County, for example, at the jail.
Yeah, I think judges were preparing in anticipation of the Pretrial Fairness Act going into place September 18th. And so we were seeing those numbers dip. And then I think, again, we're seeing cases where people who were not going to be detained were not being held. And so those numbers, those low-level nonviolent offenses, those people are not languishing for even a day or two. So that's why that daily population is staying low.
And she's happy to report that the daily population of Cook County Jail is at a 40-year low, under 5,000 inmates on a daily basis. That's good news. More good news. The incidence of electronic monitoring being used for those released pretrial has not increased. So people who have been charged with what she would call low-level offenses and nonviolent crimes, assaults and so forth, nonviolent, they can amble about freely until their trial date.
I'm certain they're going to continue to look at that, but that hasn't borne out in any way. The numbers have remained relatively steady, and maybe a very slight dip in the number of people on electronic monitoring. And so I think we were gearing up and anticipating that might be the offset. If you're not held in custody, then they'll put you on a bracelet. But the numbers thus far have not borne that out.
All right, so Cook County jail population is down. There's no increase in the use of electronic monitoring, the great news. Also, you're saying, well, what about the incidence of recidivism? We haven't seen any increase in 90 days with respect to recidivism either.
So far, that hasn't borne out. I mean, and keeping in mind it's only been about 5 weeks, but we have not seen an uptick in people who were released committing new crimes or people not returning to their court dates. And so I think, the fear-mongering that happened before this bill went into effect of the jails were going to be emptied and people were going to be running the streets is not borne out. What we have seen is that people who have posed a threat to public safety are now being detained, and as they should, and that people who are not a threat are allowed to go out and live their lives and come back and be held accountable without having to use our jail resources.
Exactly. Pay no attention to the people that have committed a violent crime, attempting to kill or killing someone while out on electronic monitoring, which CWB Chicago has been reporting for the last several years. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to what Kim Foxx is saying about how wondrous this all is, which is curious. This next statement from Harold Ford, the former Dem legislator from Tennessee, who you now can see on the 5 if you can tolerate that program, which I can't.
That show.
Harold Ford talking about New York and the incidence of violent crime in New York, which is much lower on a per capita basis than Chicago. And New York, they moved to a no cash bail, not as comprehensively as Illinois did, to their shame. But they moved to a modified no cash bail back in 2019. So they have 4 years of experience with this. And Harold Ford had this to say about reducing violent crime in metropolitan areas like New York?
First, you got to end cashless bail. It's not working. I was one from the outset that thought that there might be some benefit, but it has not turned out to be a benefit. Right. And I think you have to be responsible and say it's not working.
How it's not working in New York? I can only assume it's not working in New York because they didn't go as far as we did in Illinois. They need to go further with no cash bail. So again, let's cut and paste the Safety Act, the Pritzker Purge Law, and let's use Illinois as the model for good governments, as it is in so many other instances. Right? Rafael Mangual is a senior fellow and the head of research for the Manhattan Institute's Policing and Public Safety Initiative. He's also the author of the book Criminal Injustice: What the Push for Mass Decarceration and Depolicing Gets Wrong and Who It Hurts Most. Rafael, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back.
Who are you more surprised by in terms of their comments, Kim Foxx or Harold Ford?
Probably Ford, only because the sky hasn't quite fallen yet in New York. And so, that is definitely emboldened the defenders of our crazy bail laws and our other criminal justice reforms. Kim Foxx is just operating in a different world, right? She's completely detached from reality and is 100% unwilling to engage with data and with the reality on the ground. I mean, there are just cases after cases and examples after examples of people who have committed heinous offenses, low-level offenses, who have been caught repeatedly with illegal firearms, all while having an active criminal justice status, whether that means they're out on pretrial release or on probation or parole. The idea that the criminal justice system in the state of Illinois or in the city of Chicago is doing a good job of incapacitating the most violent people, I think is laughable.
And New York, we know because they have more than a month, a little over a month worth of data. They have 4 years of it. The most recent research I saw was, and I think it was a colleague of yours at the Manhattan Institute, saw a statistically significant increase in crime, violent crime, Class X felonies, since their modified no cash bail system was enacted in 2019, right?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that defenders of these things like to say is that, well, post-reform, we see people who are out on pretrial release reoffending at the same rate. This is what they hang their hat on. But here's the thing. If you have more people out on pretrial release and that population offends at the same rate, well, that means an increase in crime, right? If you have 100 people, 10% of whom will reoffend, and then you increase the number of pretrial releasees to 200 people, well, now you've just doubled the number of offenses.
Oh, whoa! We don't do math in Cook County. Please, I thought we made that clear. All right, well, let's get to your proposed model legislation in terms of what communities like Cook County, states like Illinois could do if they were not criminally insane.
Yeah, so, what I really wanted to do with this new report was just kind of figure out, how can people who are on the right side of this issue play a little bit of offense, right? We spend most of our time, I know certainly at the Manhattan Institute and lots of other people who are working in this space kind of batting down bad ideas, and that can certainly be a full employment program if you want it to be. But I really wanted to come up with a plan of offense, right? So, there are kind of three things that I think are probably the biggest holes in our criminal justice system, and the vast majority of them have to do with reoffenses, recidivism, repeat offending by people who have very extensive criminal histories, right? If you look at the city of Chicago, for example, the University of Chicago Crime Lab released a report on shootings and homicides in 2015 and 16 and found that on average, people charged with those offenses had 12 prior arrests. Almost 1 in 5 had more than 20 prior arrests, right? So what this tells us is that there's a problem. This criminal justice system is not doing a very good job of keeping the people who need to be off the street. Why? Well, because you have prosecutors like Tim Fox who aren't pursuing charges to the full extent of the law. You have judges like Tim Evans who are just not going to be trustworthy when it comes time to actually put somebody behind bars for a significant period of time. You have parole boards that are just out of control and grant parole as a rubber stamp, and that puts a lot of reoffenders on the street. So one thing that you can do is you can draw a line in the sand as to repeated criminal offending and say beyond this point, no more. What does that look like? the kind of original version of this was the three strikes laws that we saw popping up around the country starting in the 1970s and 80s. There were some critiques of those regimes. I like to think that this kind of modified three strikes proposal is responsive to those critiques in the sense that it widens the scope of offenses that can get you a point towards a strike, whereas many three strikes regimes, you could only get a strike for a serious violent felony. This will get you a partial strike even for certain misdemeanor convictions, but it also rewards desistance. So if you go a period of years, starting at 3 years, then 5 years, then 10 years without reoffending, you will get strikes taken off your record, right? So it creates incentives in both directions. But what we know is that, people who are reoffending can be deterred by the prospect of serious amounts of time. The other thing, though, is that, a lot of times our criminal justice systems give way too much good time credit for people who are actually sent to prison, even if they're sent to prison for a relatively long time, such that they're cutting their sentences more than half. So the other thing that we wanted to do was propose a kind of modified truth in sentencing regime that will raise the threshold of the share of a sentence that someone has to serve before they're eligible for release, irrespective of the kinds of good time credits that that they might otherwise acquire. And then people say, well, you're kind of disincentivizing then individuals who are incarcerated from participating in programs because they may no longer get the benefit. And what I say to that is, show me the evidence that these programs are actually reducing recidivism in some significant way. I mean, from where I can sit, the recidivism data in this country shows that somewhere between 80 and 83% of people who are released from state prisons are going to reoffend at least once. Right, that's a major problem. So we need to maximize incapacitation. That's the main goal of these proposals. But the third proposal is really, really key in that it has nothing to do with sentencing or punishment, but has everything to do with data transparency. What we want is for people in prosecutors' offices like the Cook County State's Attorney's Office with prosecutors like Kim Fox and people like George Gascon out in L.A. and Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, is to have to start reporting in a uniform way the measures that we all know indicate their failures. For example, what share of homicides or other serious felonies are committed by people with an active criminal justice status? What share are committed by people on parole, on probation, out on pretrial release? What's the average number of prior arrests for people who were charged with serious offenses, et cetera? Making jurisdictions report that data in a systematic way on a regular basis will allow us to track the success or failures of their policies, and will also allow the institutions that have been the object of really terrible and bad faith critiques defend themselves against those critiques by being able to point to the hard numbers of why they're doing what they're doing.
Is any district doing that so far, anywhere in the country?
So we have seen a few states recently start to toy with these ideas. So Tennessee has been just an absolute leader on this stuff. They actually passed a truth in sentencing regime and signed it into law just last year, or last session, I should say. And they have already proposed a modified three strikes bill. So I'll be interested to see, how that ends up playing out. And yeah, I do think, in Congress, for example, Nicole Maliotakis, Republican representative from New York, has proposed a very similar data transparency measure. So there's definitely momentum starting to build up for this. And what I'd like to do is sort of have this blueprint for people who care about these issues to start putting that concern into action.
And the point here that you make often, but it bears emphasis, is we're trying to zero in on the serial predators. We're not trying to grow the population in Cook County Jail or anywhere else, or the number of people on electronic monitoring just for the purposes of sidelining more people who've committed a particular offense. We're really trying to get to this subgroup that's responsible for the preponderance, if not the majority, of the violent crime.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you look at any jurisdiction around the world, what you're going to see consistently is that the vast majority of serious offenses are committed by a very, very small slice of the population that's constituted by very active serial offenders. the critique against kind of tough on crime policies is always that, well, you're just pursuing mass incarceration. You just want to throw everyone away and lock away the key. And of course, that's not the case. When you look at, these proposals, for example, you'll see that they really only attach to people who are repeat offenders and who are committing very, very serious violent crimes that have very, very high social costs. Right. So, if you look at the kind of offense profile or criminal history profile that someone who might be eligible for a third strike under this sort of regime would be, I have to ask, critics of this, you tell me why the guy with 4, misdemeanor convictions and 3 nonviolent felony convictions and 2 violent felony convictions doesn't need to go away for a long time. I mean, you tell me why we should roll the dice.
Rafael Mangual is a senior fellow and the head of research for the Manhattan Institute's Policing and Public Safety Initiative. He's the author of the book Criminal Injustice, What the Push for Mass Decarceration and Depolicing Gets Wrong and Who It Hurts Most. Rafael, thank you as always.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Valparaiso is a growing community that has become a model city for the Midwest. Valparaiso has momentum, and Matt Murphy wants to make sure we keep moving forward.
Over the past 4 years, we have prioritized public safety by adding additional police officers, firefighters, and school resource officers, and decreased crime by 11%.
Now, Matt Murphy is running for Valparaiso City Council to keep our city on the right track.
We've invested in our infrastructure by paving more than 30 miles of roads. We engaged the next generation by creating the Mayor's Youth Council. We've increased our rainy day fund, improved government transparency by live streaming our meetings, and kept property taxes low.
As a conservative leader, Matt Murphy will work to keep Valpo a strong and thriving community.
We've done a lot, but the work isn't done. Valpo's on the right track, and we need your help to keep conservatives on the city council. I'm Matt Murphy, and I'm asking for your vote on or before November 7th. Paid for by the committee to elect Matt Murphy.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan.
Congratulations on your big Hawkeye win.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the worst football team in America with only 2 losses?
I mean, that game was so boring, and there's no offense on either side. And I remember John Lausch's son. You're right; he's the quarterback at Northwestern. Not very impressive, but it was very boring. 10-7. Woo! And so many people asked, "Where's Dan?" And I said, well, "He's in the bathroom."
I was working for Harbaugh, stealing signs of the other Big Ten teams.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks so much for making this part of your morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Have a glorious day. Enjoy the warmth. Now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Anti-Semitic flyers and messages found in Chicago and the suburbs. Calls are growing for car